Okay. Okay, do we have or we're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council Executive Session agenda for May 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to retire to executive session of the Town Council in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 4246-4 and 4246-5A for the following purpose? Collective bargaining in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 4246-5A2, Police IBPO Local 303 Labor Contract, and Firefighters IAFF AFL-CIO Local 1589 Memorandum of Agreement.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so we're going to executive, and we'll be back to exit executive in a bit. All right, thank you.
Jesse, roll call.
That's right, roll call vote for this. So we'll start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonato, aye.
Ava Trzynski, aye.
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Thanks. All right, we're going to get started tonight. Thanks to everyone for attending on a rainy night. We're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting agenda, May 2nd, 2022 at 7:32 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we move to our regular business, we're going to take a moment of silence for John Francis Murray Jr., who passed away on April 21st of this year. He was a longtime Narragansett resident, as well as a Vietnam vet, and the brother of our colleague, Patrick Murray. So we'll take a moment of silence now. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to start with the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the April 4th, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Do we have a motion to approve the April 4th, 2022 executive session minutes?
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the April 6th, 2022 budget work session minutes?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jesse, I have to recuse.
Abstention?
Abstain.
Okay.
Yeah, I never had a
Motion
chance.
approved 4-0 with Counselor Kopech abstaining. And Deb, you'll be abstaining from the next two as well, right? Okay. Motion to approve the April 7th, 2022 budget work session.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion approved 4-0 with one abstention. The April 11th, 2022 budget work session minutes.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion approved 4-0 with Counselor Kopech abstaining. And then, so for the April 18th meeting, I'm going to abstain because I was absent. And who else? Was there three?
Just- Oh, yeah, so you.
Oh, Eva, you were
was
absent as
out.
well, right?
It was just the three of us.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the April 18th, 2022 regular meeting?
I'll move the
Minutes.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
So motion approved 3-0 with two abstentions. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to our announcements and presentations. We have the president of URI, Mark Parlange, here tonight to introduce himself to the community here in Narragansett. So, Mr. Parlange, if you're here, feel free to come up. Welcome. Yeah, that's the best spot. And just make sure that your microphone is on. It should have a red light.
It's all good.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me here this evening. We're thrilled to be here, and it's some of you I already know, and some of you I look forward certainly to meeting. But Councilperson Suzanne Cicilline, thank you, and Debbie Kopech, we recently met, and I'm sure we're all going to run in, and I know some of you are also URI alums. We're big fans of URI alums, and so it's good. Let's see, maybe I could begin by just first of all telling you how much we've loved it. I've now been at URI officially for 9 months. It is just a great community of people. It's marvelous students, the faculty and the community. But, you know, from the very first weekend we were here at the Farmers Market, it was so clear the important role that the university plays in knitting the community together. And I have to admit, I was just at your, on the beach watching a concert being played by the South Kingston Strings, and there were many members of the URI community in that orchestra right now, and Brian Cardenay's professor in music was conducting, so it's good. Maybe I'll just quickly tell you 2 seconds about myself. So most recently I came from Australia. I was provost at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. Monash is Australia's largest university. It's about 80,000 students, so a little bit bigger than URI. It has a big medical school, big law school, big engineering and so forth. It plays a crucial role actually in transforming the economy of Southern Australia, the state of Victoria, the city of Melbourne, and a lot of the things that we were doing there certainly has similarities with URI. And then very quickly before that, I was Dean of Engineering at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. And before that, I was in Switzerland for 10 years. I was Dean of Engineering there too in Lausanne. And in Western Switzerland, we really did a lot of work with the university to transform the economy of Western Switzerland. So it's really becoming a booming, vibrant economy that had been, say, 20 years back, rather quiet. And then before that, I was in the United States. I was a professor at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and at the University of California. Did my graduate school at Cornell, and then earlier on I did my undergraduate in Australia, high school in Australia. So I've been moving back and forth, but I was born in Fox Point, so I'm a Rhode Islander, like most of you, I'm sure, born and raised. So a little bit, maybe a few things about the university. So we are very proud of our state, the state of Rhode Island, the regional communities. We see in so many different ways the way that the University of Rhode Island is going to go is going to drive the region and the economy. And in the same way that, for example, the state of Michigan feels pride about the University of Michigan, or Washington feels pride about the University of Washington, we feel a lot the same way with where the University of Rhode Island will go with the state of Rhode Island. I'm happy to say we just had on May 1 closing deadlines for commitments of students. We're very vibrant and healthy there in terms of students. We're attracting a lot of students from out of state. They end up staying. The University of Rhode Island students do stay, even if they're coming from Maryland or New Jersey or Tennessee or wherever they're coming from. They end up sticking. They're the ones that are really going to help us, I think, in the long term. And I think there's one of the big things that we've been really working on and pushing is thinking about sustainable use of ocean resources. It's very clear that there's going to be a big shift in the United States around the grid. If you go from New Jersey to Maine, there's about 60 gigawatts of offshore wind power that's there. There's talk by 2030 of having 30 gigawatts. And so the companies that are going to come and work on this are going to have to be attracted to the connection. And so there's actually a lot of Danish companies that we're talking to maybe set up shop here in Rhode Island. And as I told our Danish colleagues, I pretended I was Danish. I do a lot of work on offshore wind, but the way, to think of Denmark, DTU is an important university for them, and URI is an important. So the companies come, they want to be able to hire great graduates. They want to be able to attract other companies and form research alliances. And I think it's just an important piece of what, let's call it the blue economy. It includes aquaculture, it includes coastal resilience, it includes, obviously, a lot of work that we have going in the defense sector. So, and you see it, if you go to Electric Boat, half the scientists and engineers and business people working there are all URI grads. The same with NUIC, the overwhelming. So this is an important piece. We're really interested in trying to find pathways for students to come to the university. I'm very proud of the fact that 30% of our undergraduates are first in family, first generation students. There's not a lot of research flagship universities that can talk about that. So that, I think, is an important piece. we've had a fantastic program called Talent Development. It started in 1968 after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and it's really developed pathways for students to support them to succeed. And so that's, in general, I would like to say that our students basically graduate in 4 years' time, those in a 4-year program. It's been just positive to see the strong community, the connection, and the love for the university. I'm in the process right now of working, obviously, with the state government to try to look at the support for the university. You know, the enthusiasm for the university is fantastic and the opportunities are great. The support per student, though, we are at the lowest in the country of the research flagship research universities. So that's an area of opportunity. I'm very interested, I should mention, in the Narragansett Bay Campus. It really could be the hub for the blue economy and for attraction. We really want to build an innovation hub out there. And so that's a big push right now. How do we transform? And I'm happy to give anybody who would like a tour of the Narragansett Bay Campus. The location is fantastic, but the facilities are in a little bit of a state of disrepair. So the feedback, you know, from the governor to the Senate president to the speaker to all our representatives and at the federal delegation, we're just so lucky with Congress and senators who are really backing the university. So that's, I'm sure there's no state university president in the country that can, you know, talk about how many times they've had the pleasure to work in a meaningful way with their senators or with their Congress. So I feel really good about that. I'm happy to talk about other aspects of where we're planning, but I want to really take this opportunity to invite you all to a community forum. We're in the process of really trying to think what kind of university do we want to become, where do we want to go. We're in the midst of strategic planning, and we're going to have a community forum at the Welcome Center on the Kingston campus on Monday, May 23rd from 6 to 7:30. And that's really just an opportunity for us to talk about, you know, where our strengths are, where we're going, what are the opportunities, and just the vital role that the university plays in the life of the regional community. So May 23, 6 to 7:30, you're warmly welcome. And
We'd love to come. We have a meeting that night, I think.
Oh, can we do it together? Yeah, no.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah. No, well,
we-
if people are not
we have a
able to come here, we.
Yes, tonight.
Let's see, maybe just a couple of other things, because I am very proud of our students. As some of you know, we were celebrating just now in the State House some of our scholar athletes and just fantastic people that are at the university. I'm pleased that, you know, for example, our nursing students have held workshops and health screening at various South County senior centers. So I like to see that our students are really committed to giving back. Our pharmacy students, many of our pharmacy grads have gone on to do great things. We're on the front line against COVID by helping to run testing and vaccine clinics in the surrounding communities. And pharmacy faculty and students have volunteered in vaccine clinics throughout South County since the beginning and have administered something more than 17,000 doses. So it's another area where I think you know, we can collaborate. And of course, it's a beautiful area to be here in Narragansett. I'm always very proud of our students out there surfing. For an Australian, it's very cold, the water. I will not go out there with them, but I like to watch them surf, and it's just, anyway, we're thrilled to be here. It's the absolute best job in the world. There's so many good things to do, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Mark, can I just ask a question about that strategic planning? Can the public go to that at the
Oh.
Welcome Center? So if people wanted to go and listen to the conversation or be involved to see what URI wants to, unfold and become?
It's a great opportunity. There are other online forums, but somehow in person, and having those conversations and those breakout groups. So please join us there. It's important because it really is the research flagship university of the state, and how it goes is going to actually play a crucial role in terms of where the economy of the state is going to be, and the opportunities for, you know, our children and the next generation. And it's so crucial. So we would be delighted if you would join.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. We really appreciate your presence.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for President Parlange? No?
Just a comment. Thank you, President Parlange, for attending. So as you know, I'm a class of 96 College of Pharmacy grad, so I'm very proud of the pharmacy program there, also 2021 grad. And I actually attended my last semester at URI in 96 in Newcastle University, Australia. So it was beautiful there. I loved it. I had to go to a zoo to see kangaroos, and that was surprising to me.
Yeah. And you probably saw a lot of rugby as well. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
All right, great. Well, thank you again. We're just going to take a really quick break, get a couple photos, and then we'll start back up again.
With the council.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to call us back to order here. Next, we have Mike Millen Sr., Chair of the Narragansett Historical Cemetery Commission, to give us a presentation on historical cemetery preservation. Mr. Millen, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I picked a good night to be here, being an alumni of URI as well as my wife. Ran out the door. My youngest is graduating in 3 weeks, marketing group, so I have to catch up and see what we can do about a job interview. So I am the chairman of the Narragansett Historical Cemetery Commission, and as part of the Rhode Island Cemetery Awareness and Preservation Weeks, the Narragansett Commission is planning a spring cleanup and information day on Saturday, May 14th at the cemeteries number 10 and 11, which are located in front of and behind the South Ferry Church. We plan a brush cleanup, removing some fallen trees, and sharing information and donuts with anyone that stops by to visit or to assist us. As part of that information, I recently was able to gather historical data online and in journals that ties together a family that is buried in number 10 during the American Revolution that played a hand in building and manning parts of governments in Jamestown, South Kingstown, Block Island, Charleston, Westerly, as well as owning part of the ferries that operated between South Kingston and Jamestown. So, for anyone in town that would like to know the name of this family, you're kindly invited to join us on the 14th, and we'll give you that name and information. I believe you also received a flyer about all this as well, and if you have any questions.
Mike, about what time is it?
It's Saturday morning from
On the
9 to
14th.
1 on
9
the
to 1.
14th. And there is a copy in your information packet.
So if you show up at the South Ferry Church behind there, is that?
Right,
Number
there's
10
a
is-
cemetery directly in front of it, and then there's one behind it, a much smaller one behind it as well.
Thank you.
Okay?
Great, yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you very
coming.
much.
Thank you, sounds great. All right, we're going to go over to our town manager, Jim Tierney, for the town manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few updates, because most of these items are items that I get inquiries about. So, Beach Pass sales. The Beach Pass sales office opened this past Saturday, and it'll be open 7 days a week from 8:30 to 5:30, if anyone's interested. Rhode Island Public Transit Authority worked with the town and the owners of Salt Pond Plaza. They're going to create a small hub there for the Express 65 line to Providence. That service will start on June 20th, and they should be having signage up there shortly, and they're going to handle a press release for that. COVID, no town staff out due to COVID, which is a good thing to hear. But if there's anyone here this evening that would like some rapid tests, please go see Fire Chief Partington, and he will go get them out of my office and assist us with that. Thank you. It's Friday. We had 8 new firefighters that graduated from the Fire Academy, and their salaries and benefits will be paid for 3 years from a SAFER grant totaling of about $2.8 million. Over the years, the town's seen a considerable increase in the demand for emergency medical services, and these new hires will provide additional EMS staffing and firefighters. They'll provide life-saving services to this community, and at the same time, reduce overall overtime costs. We congratulate them and we welcome to the community of Narragansett. This evening, you'll be hearing about the adjustments made to the budget at the direction of the council from the previous hearing. And just another reminder that the roadway improvement plan in town, many people ask questions about what roads are being done, when they'll be done, how do we prepare. It's all on the town website now under the news flash. And thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's 7:54, so we have a little bit of time before our public hearings to take public comment. So we're going to go to the open for public comment portion of the evening. So anyone who's interested in speaking on any items not on the agenda tonight, now's the time. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. We'll start with Richard. Richard, please state your full name and address.
Richard Vangermish, 55 Osceola. Yeah, this is very brief, but you have a chance to sign the petition so that we can sell movable property again. And please come and see me and all other people for the purpose of good government. Secondly, I spoke last time about honoring Claudine Schneider. There seems to be some interest in it, and hopefully the suggestion was Narragansett Days, and it would be a wonderful thing to honor a fantastic person and the only woman that has represented Rhode Island in the U.S. Congress. And lastly, a plea for us to come together and all people should commiserate and start planning now for the 350th commiseration of the Great Swamp Holocaust. And this is something we can come together. I don't think there are many people who are going to defend the Holocaust that took place and the Great Swamp, and a fine opportunity for all of us to join our Native American brothers and sisters in saying, this was a bad thing.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? Stanley. Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Dan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I read your article in the paper, Eva, and it says, do something good for someone today. And I want to know, that really made me think a little bit. And so I started thinking about the evil landlords, you know. That's all we hear about, the evil landlords in town. And I want to say that they've done something good for someone. I want to tell you a tale of three tenants. You know, about 30 years ago, brand new policeman came and needed to rent a place before he bought a house. Him and his wife rented for a couple of years, and we were able to afford a house. So we provide housing for him at a reasonable rate so he could, and he did so well, he ended up being a chief. So obviously, it helped him financially. Again, a good thing done by a landlord. Then recently, I had another tenant, couldn't pay his rent, comes up and he says, "Do you have any cars I can fix? I need some money." I said, "Yeah, I'll find a car here that you can fix," you know. And so provide some money for him. It's not like I have to demand some rent all the time. Another good effort on my part, I figured. Then there was a family with a child, 2 children, and he had trouble, and so I bought his old car. He said, "Hey, buy my car, $700 car." He couldn't pay the last $700 in rent. I said, "Okay, I'll buy your car, I'll fix it up, maybe I can sell it for $1,000 if I'm lucky. I'll make some money on it, maybe." And so landlords, I think normally landlords are doing something good for someone. And I look at it that way, we're doing something good to provide housing for those who right now can't afford to buy a house. So government getting into it, property rights now. The 3-student thing, as you cut off the property rights, you disrupted the landlord situation. So now this person with 2 children, his wife left him and moved out went to another state because for sure she realized she'd never be able to afford a house. And a lot of that was because of the 3-student ordinance, which drove up the price of 3-bedroom houses. So government should not violate property rights or not adjust property rights. Please let us keep our property rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Okay, we're going to go to our public hearings tonight, and then we'll get back to open forum right after that. Actually, do we need a couple minutes to get set up? 1 second, okay.
Take it, take it.
Council President, the first one's just a schedule. You could do that one.
Oh, we don't need to have right, okay. Why don't we start with that? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to schedule a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to schedule.
Sorry, there's a little typo. Do we have a motion to schedule a public hearing on an application from Margaret L. Hogan Esquire on behalf of Lucian and Claudia Romandetta to amend the effective date of Chapter 1087 zoning amendment, bulk zoning, amending Chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled zoning?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay. All right, so this, I just want to make sure this is totally clear to everyone in the public and to the council. This is a private application from an individual to request an amendment to basically the bulk zoning ordinance. And this person is asking for the effective date to be pushed forward or back, whatever you look at, a later date, for whatever reason. So we won't make any assumptions. This isn't something from the town or from the council. This is just something that Any person can apply to have an amendment made to our ordinances. They pay the fee, and we're obligated to refer to planning and to schedule a public hearing on these matters. So that's what we're doing. I do want to discuss the date on this. So this has to go to planning, and then we'll have to come back to us. Do we have okay, so we have a recommended date of July 5th, and I think we had discussed, I discussed with the clerk that we might talk more about that because we want to make sure everyone's here for that, and it is the day after 4th of July. So do any council members have vacations or any reason they're going to be out of town on that date?
Unfortunately, no, I'm here.
Or maybe we're not that excited and we're all going to be here.
I'm here.
Everyone's going to be here?
No.
You're not? Do you want to push this back to, can we push this back 2 weeks, or are we required to have the public hearing within a certain amount of time?
No, you can move it forward 2 weeks.
Okay, so that would be the 19th, July 19th? Is that,
July 18th.
okay, oh, right, because of the holiday. Okay, so July 18th, does that work for everybody?
Yes.
I'm not going to.
Okay, okay, so any other discussion before we go to the public?
Yeah, I had a couple questions here. I guess Mike is the guy to ask. Mike, have we had?
I want to make sure, so this is
Got nothing
specifically
to do
about
with it.
scheduling,
Got nothing to do with scheduling.
so that we really shouldn't talk about it.
All right,
Okay.
all right. 'Cause it's bulk zoning.
Right, and then it's going to the planning board, so we don't want to do any sort of,
I know, but it's bulk zoning has become an issue.
but we will have time to discuss it.
All right.
So, any questions about scheduling? All right, anyone from the public? Ms. Celeberto? Our solicitor will swear you, oh, actually, no, you could just state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I just want to be crystal clear that you are obligated to schedule a public hearing if someone asked for one because the building inspector rejected their application, correct? And that's now why it's here. But could you possibly just reject their request for a public hearing and then they go to the next step, which would be Superior Court? Is
So
that possible? I don't know the procedure. Yeah.
It'll be a
No.
question for our solicitor. We did discuss this a little bit, but James, do you want to kind of clear that up?
Right, I think once they make the request, that's referred to planning, and then planning makes a recommendation, and then it's scheduled. I mean, theoretically, you could just not schedule it, but I think that would be a failure in the first instance in Superior Court. It'd be sent back, you have to make a decision, then potentially appealed from there. But it's theoretically possible, yes.
Right.
Do you have the ability to amend the bulk zoning with the planning board? Can they amend it?
The planning board can only make a recommendation.
It'll come back to us,
Yeah.
right?
Because, all right.
So we are compelled to refer to planning. That's in our charter, correct? To refer, right?
It's part of the ordinance.
Right, and then the idea of the actual public hearing, I think that's a little bit fuzzy on what we're required to do. But we're not required to vote a certain way. So, to hold the public hearing, talk it out, and still vote how we think is the best, for me, that makes sense, rather than trying to kind of pull some little maneuver. But that's my opinion. So, anyone else from the public?
I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
The new home going up next to Twin Willows, that's a product of bulk zoning. Okay, it looks like they're going to have a torrent there. There's gonna be guys
Well,
up
so
there
Patrick,
posted.
first of all, if anything got put in for a permit before the bulk zoning passed, it's allowed to move forward. So we don't know.
I know, but there's a few people who've got
Let-
right on
Let's
the
stay to
edge.
the scheduling.
So this is for scheduling.
Right.
So we have the date of July 18th, 2022. Is there anyone else from the public? Okay. All right. So all in favor of scheduling this for July 18th, 2022?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion approved, 5-0. And then we have a motion to refer this to the planning board for recommendation. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, anyone from the public? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Next, we have a motion to open and hold a public hearing on an application for a transfer of a Class B victualling limited alcoholic beverage license from Roy, Mary, and Amanda Lee Jennings, doing business as Hook, Line, and Pizza, to Hook, Line, and Pizza LLC, doing business as Hook, Line, and Pizza, Assessor's Plat K, Lot 198, 1 Angel Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the public hearing is open. Do we have the applicant here tonight? Okay, come on up. Welcome. Hello. So before we get started, we'll have our town solicitor swear you in.
Hi, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
All right. Amanda Jennings, 1497 Ocean Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
All right, thank you. So this is basically just a transfer,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, we just changed it from the DBA to LLC.
Okay. All right, do any council members have any questions for Amanda? Sorry, I had to come out for this?
Okay.
No questions? Okay. All right, great.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you. Anyone from the public? Yep, Ms. Celeberto?
Please raise your right hand. You did that. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Only two of you were on the town council when this license was, given. And there was a lot of discussion about it because Amanda's parents don't live in the state. And Terry Donovan stated that you can't give a liquor license to someone who doesn't live in Rhode Island. So they added Amanda's name. But Amanda would have to be on the deed, I believe, for this to be proper, or she would produce a lease agreement, from her parents, that she's leasing the property, and then she would get the liquor license in her name. See, this is an issue that they talked about a lot at the last, during the last town council, before they gave them this liquor license. And it was just the parents who were asking for it. And Terry said, you have to be a Rhode Island resident, so they added Amanda's name. But they didn't really want to, did they add your name to the deed, Amanda? Because this is like a process that's supposed to be done. And they just added her name. She's a Rhode Island resident. I just think there's something missing here, like a piece, like she needs to produce a lease agreement with her parents, and the liquor license would go in her name. See, this is the whole thing. You're not supposed to give a liquor license to people who aren't residents. You could give it to Amanda, but according to the last big discussion about this, you're not supposed to be giving a liquor license to people who aren't state residents. I have no objection to the liquor license. I just want to make sure it's in the right name.
Okay. So a couple of questions about this. So I do remember that. You remember that, right? But if you were to lease a building from someone who owns it, you wouldn't be on the deed.
Right.
And you would get a liquor license, just as a resident and an owner.
So,
But she's part owner of the LLC, right? Right. Well, not the building, but again, right, yeah.
the question is, James, do you need a lease to let these people transfer their license?
They already have the license in their
Yeah.
names. It's to transfer to the LLC, and the
Right.
shareholders are the same
So it's a
people-
non-issue?
The same people who were on the original lease.
So it's a
Really,
non-issue?
it's really just a technical transfer.
Yes,
Okay.
so you have no issues with it?
No.
Okay,
Okay, good.
Okay.
we're good.
Okay, anyone else from the public? Okay, anyone from the council?
No, we're good.
Okay.
And
Congrats, good luck.
So
So the,
we will close this. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 5-0. And then do we have a motion to approve the transfer of a Class B victualling limited alcoholic beverage license for Roy, Mary and Amanda Lee Jennings, DBA Hook, Line, and Pizza, to Hook, Line, and Pizza LLC, DBA Hook, Line, and Pizza, Assessors Plat K, Lot 198, 1 Angel Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to just back up 1 second. Do we have anyone from the public interested in commenting on this motion? Okay.
Caught that one.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0.
Congrats, good luck.
Thank you. Next, we have a motion to open and continue a public hearing on the proposed budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion approved, 5-0, so the public hearing is open. So this is our second public hearing on the annual budget. So we had our first public hearing about a month or so back, and then we had 3 budget work sessions. When was that? That was about 2 weeks ago, and now we're having our second public hearing. So we have our finance director, Chris Spagnoli, here to give us an update of where we're at with the budget, and I think a little presentation as well.
Yes, just a short one.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You ready? Oh, Dan's got to place the camera. So tonight, we're going to go over the second public hearing of the proposed budget. I can start. We still have our unassigned fund balance at 23.8%. at $14,685,422. We are at 100% funding of the contributions for pension and OPEB. The tax levy was reduced down to 2% as requested, resulting in a 1.65 increase in the tax rate. And with the reduction, we increased the use of fund balance to $2,182,400. Next, please. Thank you. These are the suggested changes. So you can see the use of fund balance increased almost $700,000. We reduced the library building renovations for the windows, $100,000, and the town council chambers audiovisual project for $50,000. With the changes in wages and benefits, it came out to about a $400,000 reduction. We level funded special appropriations. If you remember, we reduced it by $114,000. And we level funded land conservation, the trust, by $50,000. And then the debt service prices had to be adjusted to actual, so that was a little bit of an increase of $33,625. I just do want to make a statement that the wages and the benefit calculation, that's across all funding streams. So that included water, wastewater, beach, but that all had to do with some salary adjustments and the reduction in health care, the changes of those costs, and that affected the pension as well. Okay. So the pending issues, state aid is still an estimate. There's still the question about how much fund balance will be used. Harbor Management Commission requested a $2,500 budget that hasn't been approved or disapproved yet. Funding for Kenny Bungalow, they don't have much fund balance left, and funding for Sunset Farms, which has no fund balance. The ARPA projects, and also we received a new request last week from the South County Museum for their annual $7,000 special appropriation, which was not in the budget yet.
Okay.
Sorry, how much was that?
$7,000. And that's what they get every year, usually. And so I know I talked to everybody about increasing the tax levy to go to the maximum at 4%, and I just wanted to share a little visual that hopefully would help understand. Also, this week we had, last week, there was several workshops, and they all start talking, the financial advisors, how we can expect lower returns over the next 5 to 7 years on our interest rates, which really could have an effect on our OPEB and pension contributions. So those will most definitely be increasing over the next few years. So this slide here, you'll see we have the 2% for 2023. And then if we continue at the 4% max levy by 2026, we'll still need $821,000 of our fund balance. Do you understand that projection out? Okay, and this is a minimal increase, maybe about 4 to 5% increase, which is very small. And if you could go to the next one, Dan. This is if we continue at 2% like we have over the last several years. You can see what we need for fund balance. This year's 2.18 million. Then you go up to almost 6 million. We're going to go to 3.6 and then a $4.5 million use of fund balance because everything is increasing dramatically and we're not increasing the tax levy. So I just thought that would help get my point across a little bit better. Next. So currently, right now, the tax rate for residential property is $9.01 per thousand, and the commercial rate is $12.16. In 21-22, it was $8.86 and $11.96 for commercial. The increase in the tax rate is 2%, which is a $1 million plus increase in the tax levy revenues. There's also a substantial increase in the motor vehicle assessments, and this is due to a huge influx in new vehicles and the NADA valuations. So we have it's a pretty big increase. It's kind of throwing our numbers off a little bit, but it's more revenue and nice cars. So what's next? The adoption of this capital improvement plan resolution is scheduled for May 16th. Also on May 16th is the first reading of the budget ordinance, and the second reading and the adoption of the budget ordinance is scheduled for June 6th. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so, you guys want to go?
You can start.
So I just, I want to say thank you to the staff for presenting the budget, and I want to thank you, Chris, because I know we met. I just want to talk about some of the things that I'm really want to support in the budget at 2%, not 4%, and I know we've talked about, and thank you for the graph. I really appreciate that. And so at the 2%, it would be 66 million-ish. But
Right.
I want to fully support the schools at 27.6. Last year, theirs was 27.069. For the reasons that they stated, for the staffing and the benefits for the students behind due to the pandemic, for the mental health issues and all the wonderful things about the school, renovation of the auditorium. I support the school. I want to support all this special appropriations for 256 from Neighbors Helping Neighbors, Narrow River, Johnny Cake Center, all of the above, and the one you just added tonight. Wildlife, all of them, and the additional one in South County Museum. The Land Trust is something that is near and dear. I like the idea that they protect the open space in the town. 2 years ago, they didn't get the 100,000. I don't know how my colleague, so I want it to be the 100,000 for the 2 years that they didn't get it. I support that. We'll see where everybody comes in on that. The chamber was at 45 and it moved to 25. I was good with that. Fully funding the capital, everything you had in there. That means the windows to the library and the IT for the 50,000. It's in the budget. I support it all. I don't think we have to cut it just to say, cut it, you know. And then for the opera money, I don't know if everybody wants to talk about that, but I will say for the 4.5, the water improvement, the bike path I want to support. I want to be on the record for that. And they all got a study tonight about the affordable housing study for 20,000. So I would support that in the opera funds, which is separate from the budget, but just want to throw my plan out there and just want people to understand what I want to support in this budget. And I know it's hard to get to 2 with what I I feel is important to the community, but I wanted to just make sure that some of those things were allocated in this budget.
And just so everybody's clear, the 2% will only bring in X amount of money for tax revenue, but we can just bump up the fund balance use. Again, at 23.8%. You could do that for special projects, short-term revenue loss.
So that was just kind of my little plan.
All right, we got Susan's plan. Why don't we go around the horn as we normally do. Eva, do you have any thoughts?
I'll just wait to hear everyone's thoughts.
Okay. Deborah or Patrick?
I just want to ask a question about surpluses after budgets over the last few years. So we ended the 2021, I guess it was, is the last finished one, right? That's been, that's completed. We ended that with a surplus, right?
2021, the one we just did, yes, it was, we're fund balance, the budget itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little over $3 million surplus.
Okay. And so do you know for like the last few years whether or not we've always ended with a surplus if we ended with a deficit?
No deficits, but
no
not a
deficits.
surplus like we did in
Right.
2021, which was due, to many reasons.
And the surplus goes into the
Fund balance.
Right, right.
Correct.
So, I mean, and the reason I'm asking these questions is because I think that, anytime we have a surplus from a previous budget, it should actually be probably applied to the next one. And that gets us to a place where, we're not modifying the fund balance in a negative way, but we are using the funding the way that we had intended to, in the previous year. I don't know what that means from an accounting perspective, but I just think that makes a lot of sense.
Right, you just don't want to ever use fund balance to cover operating costs.
Right.
Because salary, you would never get out of that rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, you
But,
can.
but for
you can-
capital projects,
Right,
for,
right.
the increased
We
debt.
can put the money where it needs to go,
Exactly.
but we could use it. So just wanted to make that point.
Okay, Patrick?
Well, I'm looking to level fund the school. They have $5 million in their kitty. I think that's fair. I don't know if there's a consensus on that. And as far as the library and the windows, I think we floated the bond. I think they're fundraising, and I think they can work that out themselves. So, those are the two that stand out for me.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because we want to try to get to like a general consensus tonight so that Chris can make any last changes, and then we'll have something ready to go for the first reading. So I'm pretty happy with what you're presenting tonight. The changes that you made based off the workshop, for me, I'm in agreement with all of those. I'm actually with Deb, one of the liaisons to the land trust.
Right.
I can't show my face at the next meeting probably, although I missed a bunch of meetings anyway. But I just was under the, it was waived a couple years back, and and they're asking basically for that money credited back. And if I was them, I guess I would ask as well. But I just consider a waiver to be a permanent thing. You waived it, it's waived, and then you move forward to get your new 50. So I'm fine with just doing the 50,000 for land trust. And what else do we have here? For the schools, for me, the bottom line with the schools is that they get the money in one way or another that they need to operate and everything that they're asking for. They do have that reserve. So when you say level fund, you're saying from the town side, you're saying level fund it, and then they'd make up the difference with their reserve. So they would
Correct.
still be able to operate as they're planning to operate. And then Susan wants to fully fund. So basically you have the delta there is
Like to split the difference.
600,000. So I'm with Deb there to basically come down the middle.
Split the difference.
What do you think, Susan?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to fully fund it, but I'll compromise, split the difference.
It is a pretty large reserve, and they'd be using a very small percentage of that reserve to make up that half. So if we did that,
So 1.5, they're at 2% right now increase. So if we went to a 1.5, I also want to remind you that we have the resolution where they have to save 5%.
but isn't that
Right,
already in?
And that goes into their budget, right, it's already in their budget,
Right.
so even though she.
Do you know the
fund
total
balances,
of
so-
what the actual dollar amount of what they're asking?
27.6.
That's our contribution, our
27.6.
allocation. But that's our allocation, it's a little bit more, their budget's a little bit higher than that.
Our allocation, that's fine. And then
Yes.
last year we did like 27.
You
Right.
did.
Right.
Do you know if they, I'm sorry.
Do you want to
yes.
say like,
It's right here.
Well, I was wondering, if they funded healthcare the same way
To
that we did, with the
27.3.
same percentage, and we found that the numbers were more than they needed to be, they would end up with a reduction in their healthcare budget expense too, right?
Yeah, they go through West Bay Community Health, so they don't go through the trust, so it's a different organization, but I imagine they would have some savings
Something
with that this
yeah.
year as well.
So, I mean, that's,
We
right
can.
there, there's some savings, and so their costs are going to be, or their budget's going to be lower
Lower
than they
anyway.
thought, yeah. So,
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
the 27.3 is a good.
What do you think,
spot.
20, I mean, we'll check with Patrick and Eva, obviously, but 27.3
yeah,
as opposed to 27.6.
right.
So that's what us three are discussing.
Right.
And you guys can chime in as well. So, well, why do we get a consensus on that specifically before we move forward? What do you guys think
For
of?
the school?
Yeah.
I wanted to see it level funded.
So, okay, and then they would make up the $600,000
Yeah.
difference? All right, and then what we're saying is that we would do 27.3, and they would make up the 300,000 or so difference. So it's kind of like down the middle.
Compromise.
Well, so we're saying, we have three people saying 27.3, so that's what we would like to see.
Okay.
What about 75%?
Eva is tenacious. I'm going
We
to,
considered the 50% to be the compromise, so.
and Eva, I'm almost done, and then if you have thoughts, you can share those. I'm almost done, I just have a couple more things, and then I'll
Yeah.
take. Do you guys we want to do the Harbor Management Commission for 2,500? That's not in there now, right?
Sure.
Okay. So the ARPA stuff, so basically what we're saying then is that we're not going to use ARPA funds for anything currently in the budget. That's basically what we're saying, and that anything ARPA related, we would do separately at a future meeting.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's the 4.5 million, right?
Yep.
Yes. And then the last thing I just want to say is, and this isn't something that I was really thinking about until you brought it up, Chris, so I appreciate you putting these charts in here. So basically the idea is that, of course, we want the levy to be as low as possible, and that's what previous town councils have done, and that's what we want to do. But by doing that, you're kind of denying the reality of what the actual costs are to operate, and you're continuing to fill that gap in funding with our unassigned fund balance. But at some point, you can't do that anymore. And you're going to have to pay you're basically going to have a maximum tax levy. It's inevitable, right?
Correct.
And to cover that maximum tax levy, you have to continue to use your fund balance to the point where in 3 years, we would have to transfer $4.5 million,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So that's why you need to do it in a more gradual way,
More
as opposed to
gradual.
say, we're going to do a 0% increase.
And just give,
Right, right. So that's the balance that you're presenting
Correct.
to us. Okay.
I just had a.
Yep, go, I'm done. Yep.
Yeah, Christine,
Yes.
you know, since there's a lot of construction going on, right? And we closing, I mean, these big houses they're building on, you know, I mean, that's gonna be bringing in some additional revenue, correct?
Correct.
To offset some of these, you know, increases?
In time it will, yes.
Yeah, so, okay, just wanna make that point.
And again, you know, this is only a 4% increase that I'm
Right.
showing, but, you know, 4 to 5%, really.
Right.
So, I mean, you're just looking out, giving a projection, so.
Right.
I think what we have to do is we just have to be really aware of that whole issue of, cost versus the limit to the 4%, and just be really diligent about tracking that. I mean, I think right now, it's probably okay to do what we're doing. It may be okay in the future, we don't know, and I know you're hedging against the future, I get that, and that makes tremendous sense. It's a conservative way to look, and it's right. But, I keep thinking back to the funds that we had, the excess funds that we had, and to me, that makes up some of the difference without stripping our fund balance. So that's what I'd be watching going forward, is to see how that keeps working out, and if it doesn't, then we go to the 4%. There's just no way around it. So
Yes.
I get that.
Thank you.
All right. Eva, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so just the comment. So with the school, just the level of funding for that, which I thought that we can negotiate and compromise on that. With the library building renovations, I know we previously, and this was like a sticking point for me, was when we had a fixed fee contract with an architect, we ended up approving close to $100,000 extra for that. And I just want to state too that at one of the public meetings, I did say, or one of our meetings, I sincerely said that I would be happy to help with fundraising efforts. And I really mean that. And nobody's yet contacted me to help. So I'm stating that again. I think we should be fundraising for any more renovations or whatever we want to do for the library.
Right.
Anything else? No? Okay. So, and just to be clear, so the windows for the library project are not in this budget?
Correct.
Right.
And the IT chamber is out?
It's out
Okay,
right
so
now.
those two, I guess I'm lone soldier on those, but I was interested in keeping those in.
Does anyone else want to put those in the budget?
I'm sure not.
Okay.
And the land trust, is anybody
fundraise.
interested in the 100?
The land trust is, I mean.
Well, yeah, whatever other items you guys have, bring them up now.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry,
the
Patrick,
windows
you were
are
gonna say
out, the chamber's out, the land trust, trying to make up for the two back, for 100,000. That mission is important. They preserve and protect the land in the
So I
town. They
wanted to talk about that a little bit. I asked Chris last week what kind of fund the land trust has, and it's not substantial, but it's not bad either. And the whole reason for the $50,000 each year is to put together enough money to be able to purchase land when people come to us and ask us to take over parcels, and sometimes they're big parcels. That's how we purchased Middlebridge, for example. And so it's important to know that this money just doesn't lie around. It's essentially saved for real estate purchases in order to maintain green space in a town that doesn't have a whole lot of, if you accept the beaches, doesn't have a whole lot of green space. So I think it's really important to know that. And because I love a good compromise, I was thinking that maybe what we could do is, fund half of that this year and maybe half of that next year, just to keep them on an even keel, so that if something, big comes along, we have the funding to purchase it. I do worry about that a little bit, because it would be I actually spoke to Tom Rogers about saying, well, you could always come back to the town council and we'd probably be okay with it. And he's like, probably it didn't make him really
I'm happy for a
comfortable.
compromise, so that's.
Yeah, so that's just a thought, is we could go to 25,000 this year, and then we could consider an additional 25,000, next year, just to put it back to where it belongs.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. All right, so it would be,
So 25 and 25?
Yep.
right, but it would be their regular 50 plus 25 this year.
Right.
25.
Okay.
So 25 the first year and 50 the following.
25 the first
First
year.
year.
They'll get
75
75
and
this year,
75.
and 75
75,
next year,
okay.
and then everything will get.
Okay, anything else?
Chris, did you have a recommended number for Kinney and Sunset? I know that we had talked about that a little bit, and I know those facilities were depleted or were close to being, pretty
Right.
concerned. And what would be the allocation of money to keep them sustainable, to survive and for the next?
Right, especially with the fund balance, the way it is right
Yeah,
now, it would be a
yeah,
good
yeah.
time to do that. So I think, Sunset Farms, I would say probably $10,000 should last a few years anyways for them. And as far as Kinney Bungalow, the last time it was done in 2017, it was $267,000, so I'd say somewhere around that area, 250, maybe.
I think we need to have a discussion at some point about Kinney Bungalow that will
Right.
drive us in a direction that we really, have to decide on before we.
Continue,
Before we
yeah,
do
because right
that.
now we just keep funding it, but it loses money every year. So does that,
So we need to either come up with a better plan or make a decision, but I know, make a decision like Patrick wants us to do.
Kinney Bungalow?
Kinney Bungalow, yeah.
Yeah, but in the interim, Chris, I mean, I know you mentioned, until we come up with a plan, just to get us through, that 10,000 would be, at least hold us until we have a good
Well, they get that-
discussion. for
yeah,
the
that would be for the
That's for Sunset Farm.
For Sunset.
Yep, and then the.
Kinney, I mean, you could do 100,000 if you wanted for this year and look at it next year, and if you needed to do more.
I'd rather wait.
I'd rather wait. That's a substantial amount without
I just think we need to really know this issue better than I do, for example, but also what's a good, strategy for not just this minute, but for, the next 5 or 10
Well,
years.
this issue comes up every year, this
I
Kenny
know.
Bungalow. And the thing
we're
is,
kicking it,
it's a
you know?
dog. It costs us money every year. No matter what we do over there, it costs us money. I think we got to get other people to lease the building out and let them operate it, and then have them pay us a monthly fee for it. So we just lease it out, do an RFP, and lease the building out. If it's
Well,
such a
and so-
great place, they should be lining up around the corner, because I do commercial real
So I think
estate.
that's, that we have to
Yeah.
examine that.
Well, I've
We
been
have to
saying it for
examine all
years,
this.
and there's no action on it, so
No, I
here we
just
go
brought them up
again,
because I
you
know they're in trouble, and
Right.
we keep hearing about, Sunset's in trouble, so in the interim, we
You
need
mean
to do
Kinney.
something, so. I was-
But Kinney Bungalow can operate for this year, correct? They can operate
They-
this year?
To finish 2022,
Right.
they'll probably make it, yes.
Yeah.
But
Probably
they
make
will
it.
not have enough for next year.
Right. But what?
Well, except that they, I'm glad Michelle's coming up there. But one of the issues was COVID, was that, they
Right.
lost a ton of business over 2 years, which is coming, I don't know Kinney as well as I know the towers, but it's coming back. And
It's always been an issue.
kind of like gangbusters. I know,
For
but
8 years, since I've been up here, Kenny Bungalow has always been a loser. I'm sorry, Michelle. I think it's, yeah.
I don't.
So, good evening. So I totally agree with your concerns regarding, I'm sorry, Michelle Kershaw? You're welcome. So I totally agree with everything that everybody is saying. Unfortunately, Kinney Bungalow costs us so much money because it is a historic building. It's an old building. The elevator repairs, which fall under our building maintenance and repairs, are thousands and thousands of dollars. Every time something goes wrong with the elevator, it costs $10,000. There's no HVAC, so again, that building can only operate seasonally for 3.5 to 4 months out of the year. So, Patrick, when you say, let's lease it, that is a great idea. However, we're not going to be able to lease the building year-round if we don't have any heat or AC.
Well, there are entities out there that will put in an HVAC system on their own nickel, I mean, there are, if they come up with a successful formula, they get that building off and rolling, they'll invest money in it.
And I agree with that, but then that's just a company to install the HVAC. Then you have what company or companies would want to come in and be able to maintain that building. I get a lease, but I know a lot of the leases that we have require the building maintenance and repairs back on the town. So again, that is a big discussion we should have. Encore fire protection is costing us a fortune. Again, a contract we have with the town. Every time Encore comes out to do a fire inspection, it costs us $1,000 between different things that need to be upgraded, repairs to the fire alarm system. In fact, I'm sitting on a quote right now from Encore for a new fire alarm panel for Kinney Bungalow, upwards of $14,000.
Right.
I've got to sit on it because I don't have the money for it. So again, it's all those concerns and a lot others. So when you're ready, we should sit down and decide once and for all what the best plan is moving forward with Kinney Bungalow.
Would you consider an RFP to go out and have somebody lease it and, and then have a monthly fee that covers some of these costs?
Well, certainly, we could definitely enter into a contract, a 10-year contract, 20-year contract. Again, I'm not sure of the legal ramifications regarding a company coming in and installing HVAC on their own dime. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But again, I think it's important to remember that that is a step that we should first look at. Can we get that done at no cost to the town? And then what type of contract can we put in place to lease out the building to one company, two companies, however many? We would need to keep it sustained, and the town getting money back.
So, Michelle, if this council wanted to do $10,000 in Sunset and $25,000 for Kinney just to get through, would that be very reasonable, do you think, of the way they're sitting right now?
No.
Kinney,
I'm
see,
sorry. So again, like I said, right now I'm sitting on an old quote. It's probably 2 months old for a new fire alarm panel. I know they're going to come back to me. It was 14. It's probably now 18.
Does it, by code, it needs an update?
Well, it's old. So the fire alarm panel doesn't go to the fire department. So we'd have to rely on the smoke detectors to go off to alert the system. So again, it's just an old building.
Right. But
All right.
it's not violation of current code.
No, sir.
Okay, so it's something we don't have to spend 14,000 on it today.
No, sir, and that's why I'm sitting on it.
All right, so let's get moving on this, and then we're going to go, thank you, Michelle.
Thanks,
So we have basically 2 items left that we're discussing, and then we need to go to the public. So the $10,000 for Sunset Farm, that appropriation, does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll add the 10,000 for Sunset, and then let's take a pulse from everyone on Kinney. I'll just start. I think we should just wait and use this next year to decide on some sort of plan for that building. And if we don't come up with it, we'll appropriate just like we would have done now. We'll do that next year. So that's my opinion.
The starting number was 250, so I would say 25,000 to get through. You'll say not, you're saying 0.
I want to
So,
get this settled.
no, it definitely has to be studied, but I'm just trying to make it through the
Patrick
season,
and
because I
Eva?
know it's in trouble.
I think we'll just wait and see.
Wait.
I mean, there's no reason why we can't, I don't know. Research it, see if we can get an RFP and get going on this for next season, and then these future costs are offset by, a leasee.
All right.
So it's 0.
I mean, I'm fine with 25.
Go with 25.
All right, so we have a 3-2 right now for 0, and then work over the next year to try to figure out a solution for that building.
It would
For-
probably be operating in a negative budget with 0. So you wouldn't have a balanced budget, so we'd have to cut.
So how,
We'd have to cut it. If that's what you choose.
I'll
I
go
thought
back
you
and
said that it
cut
would be
more.
fine for this year.
For 2022, I'm sorry, for 2022, the current year we're in, for 2023, it does not have enough.
So
to
put in
operate.
20.
So how much would it need to not be negative for this year?
It's not 250.
I think at the 20, I think 25 would
Just
probably
keep
work
it
fine.
going, yes.
It would just give enough to,
25? Okay.
25. Thank you, I think that's,
All right.
I think that would
it's
probably
not
work.
wasting, we're going to use it for the facility.
Okay, all right, let's go to thank you, Michelle, or Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Can I just briefly go over what we said?
Yes.
Yeah.
To make sure?
Absolutely.
All right, so we have 25,000 for Kinney, 10,000 for Sunset. We're going to include the harbor management of 2,500. We're going to do the land trust, 75,000 over the next 2 years. And we are going to reduce the schools by 300,000? Right?
Yeah, because
Yep.
it was
Reduce
2,
it,
and we
and,
split it, right?
No windows, no library windows. Correct?
Right, and then we were also going to include the South County Museums,
Oh, yes,
Appropriation.
7,000. Yep, thank you.
like, same as last year.
Yep.
Does that
Yeah.
sound like it to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got good things going on over there.
Okay, so I want to take some public comment, and then we'll just make our last comments and then close this out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was great, and thanks again for the chart.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you,
Yeah, we
Chris.
love the chart.
I love the chart. Anyone from the public interested in speaking on this? Catherine? And then we'll go to you, Al.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I just want to be sure we're just resolving some of these pending issues tonight. Not all of them, the opera and the fund balance usage and the state aid. Some of these we're not resolving tonight, right? You're only resolving funding for Kinney Bungalow, Sunset Farms. That's what it appears.
So the fund balance usage would be dictated on whatever is needed after these adjustments to be at a 2% levy.
So
Right.
now, okay, so my question is about Sunset Farms. Why are we giving them any money at all? They operate, they have enough, like 5 businesses going out of that place. They don't pay rent, they don't pay taxes. I don't understand why we give them any money.
Chris and Rochelle?
Two on one to answer this question. Must be a difficult one.
So for the most part, there we go. It's just to cover the insurance, and then if there's any needed fixes or anything, it's not, they don't get any money.
Right, because the town pays the
It's
insurance.
just for the property, the insurance and things like that. And
'Cause
it's
they
a little
lease.
bit of money for fixing up anything that might break.
Yes, are you all set?
Can I go?
Yes, go ahead,
Okay,
you're
thank you.
next.
And just recently, there were some improvements in the parking lot behind the main building. The parking situation back there kind of just had some rock beds of some sort that were really of no use. So Mr. Farrell and his crew cleaned out that whole area, skidded all of those raised beds together, and just put some mulch down, making the parking lot look much better. So sometimes gravel purchases, things like that, are covering those costs as well.
Michelle, the Farrells do a great job over there, keeping the property, cleaned up. I know they had some issues, previously, but they have come a long way, wouldn't you say, as far as
Yes, sir.
maintaining the
I
property?
believe we have an
and
outstanding-
Landscaping and,
Yep.
okay,
We have a great working relationship with the Farrell family, yes.
okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, well, I just want to repeat what I said before. They don't pay any taxes, they don't pay any rent, they run businesses out of the place, they generate an income. It seems to me these little fixes like that should be gratis. I don't know why we have to pay them to spread gravel when they're running a landscaping business out of the place. So I would object to that. Kitty Bungalow, I'm not quite sure what the heck's going on there. There's no heat, there's no AC. Is it empty most of the time? It is rented sometime for weddings and stuff. The other thing is, the tower seems to be operating. Why isn't the Kitty Bungalow operating? Who operates the towers? Let me tell you, they don't have AC. So I don't know why Kitty Bungalow isn't making a go of it.
No ocean view. I would say that's probably a number one
I
factor
don't
there.
know. I don't know.
Plus, it's seasonal compared to, the towers is year-round.
Because there's heat, is
Right,
that it? Yeah.
right. There's no- yeah,
So
there's
we
no
could put heat in here and make this a go, maybe, possibly. I mean, Michelle keeps asking for money to do something. Right now, it's just a barn, essentially, and you can't generate income from a barn. So unless she gets the money to put into this building to make it attractive, it's just going to keep being a problem. You're going to have to address it at some point, I think. The town budget there, all those lines, I really can't make hide nor hair. My only question is the municipal court judge is only going to be on duty 2 nights a week now, 2 nights a month. So is his pay going to be reduced? He's only going to be in court 2 nights a month. Is he still going to get whatever the full pay was, what, $28,000? I don't know why that would be. But we're still talking about opera, haven't understood that. As far as the school budget's concerned, they have a $5 million kitty, and you're only going to reduce their budget by $300,000. The school department just keeps expanding. They're chasing their own tail. We're losing students every year. Right now, we only have 1,000 Narragansett resident students in K through 12. In 1998, we had 1,800, okay, 1,800. And they have tried everything, that preschool, which is more or less free. 81 kids in that preschool right now, and yet there's only 51 kids in the first grade. They started that preschool to try to entice higher income parents into the school system. They've been very upfront and clear about that, but it's not working. See, it's not working because there's only 51 kids in the first grade. Because they're leaving. These people are leaving. They've come over from St. Peter's and every place else to get the really reduced cost. And then they go to, I don't know, it's that Catholic school over there. Or they try to, they got their name on Kingston Hill Academy or whatever. What they're doing is not working to retain students. They keep creating programs. And now they have a postgraduate program, 18 to 21. We're talking about kids in our school system, 3 years old to 21 years old. They just keep, going after 1 student, 2 students, 10 students, and it's just not working. I think the school system has to find its own level. I just don't think all these projects that they're doing are working. But if they have $5 million in the bank, then they have to spend more of it, okay? Because I don't think any other department has $5 million, do they? in their pocket, you know. They wouldn't be asking for all this money. I think they should be required to spend some of it. And I really think you're going to have to start talking to these people about toning it down, what they're doing. The school committee, of course, will just anything goes, you know, you got the teacher, and I know, you know, Tammy, but, you know, she's a teacher, and on the school committee, there's always been parents and teachers, and the plan isn't working. You know, every year they're coming up with something different. 18 to 21 years old now, we have a postgraduate. I remember this when I was in high school, but the parents used to pay. It used to be like if you weren't ready for college, you'd go to a prep school somewhere, and then you'd get ready for college. But I don't know what we're doing here. What are we doing with this 18 to 21 thing? Like I said, 3 years old to 21 years old. Think about this, 3 years old to 21 years old. We've got kids in our school system. This doesn't make any kind of sense. They need another plan to attract people, but the real plan to attract people is to make houses affordable in town. And they've never been here when we were passing the 3-student ordinance, which will bring families into the town eventually, but they never supported it. They've never supported the library, ever, which is a family-oriented activity. They just exist in their own little bubble. And I think you need to, you know, really talk to them about it. Plus, the proficiency scores are awful in plain English. You know what they are. They're right on their website. You can follow the links right from their website. They're embarrassing, really, considering the amount that we spend per student. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Can I just
Al?
ask a solicitor a question that Catherine said? We agreed in the contract to Sunset Farm that Jeff Farrell can have a business, right? That's legitimate. That's in there. I remember, I just wanted to be clear to the public that he, you know, works the farm, but he can run a business because he has to make a living too, right?
Correct.
And that's in that, okay. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Alba?
I just want to say something about the school.
All right, Al, you can, we'll just be one second.
Actually, why don't you let this guy speak? He's been waiting.
Yeah, Al, you've had your hand
Come on
up multiple
here.
times. Get on up
Yeah,
here.
He's been waiting for 2 hours here. Sorry about that.
I like the scarf.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I think you're going to get the camera on that. We're going to start a trend here in Narragansett here. So we're going to.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Gave up my ascot earlier in spring.
First of all, thank you, Council President and Town Council members and dignified guests. I appreciate all you do and the dedication you do for our town. I know sometimes it might seem like a thankless job, but many of us want to thank you, so thank you all.
Oh, welcome, Al.
I would like to bring out some concerns which I heard. I think about Kenny Bungalow and, you know, if heating is going to attract more business and make it more lucrative down the road, then we should consider that. I don't know what the demand side is in regards to if we do have heating in there. Councilman Murray mentioned to the effect that, you know, it doesn't have an ocean view. I know it's a beautiful, beautiful building, so I think it might still be a win-win situation if we figure the cost for the heating unit in the more usability of the building. So we might want to just get some kind of bids for the heating to see what it will cost and make a determination at that time. Also, if we do have heating installed, I also feel it will, if we do put an RFP out for lease, it probably will make people want to bid more for that property if we decide to go on that route. So I think it's worth considering having heating installed in that area. In regards to AC, I don't know how hot it gets there in the summertime. If that precludes the heat, precludes people from wanting to rent it out in the hotter months, but that's also a consideration too. Sometimes when you have an HVAC bundle, they can, economies of scale, since they are there installing the heating, they're putting the AC at the same time, you can get a better deal, a package deal. So that is a consideration. I have no objection for the monies which are going to Sunset Farms. I think they're doing a very good job, so I applaud you on that. In regards to the school budget, I'm an educator myself. I didn't realize we had such a surplus in monies. And even though I am a strong supporter of education, as I have a lifetime, career in education, I also think that Catherine brought out some valid concerns in regards to if they do have such excess monies, well, maybe we can use those monies, do they really need that money is appropriated, and maybe we can, appropriate it for Kenny Bungalow, or other areas which are are clearly in need. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Al. Stanley?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Stan Wojcicki, 1044 Boston Neck Road. Yes, Eva, again, do something good for someone today. Let's do something good for everyone today. We have a choice to make. We're talking about 2%. Oh, it's only 2%. I just heard it's only $1 million. So you're going to raise $1 million from all our taxpayers when you don't really need to. How about doing something good for the taxpayer and say, hey, we don't need that $1 million because we got 14 million hanging around. So we don't have to do it. I heard that we might use $4.5 million over a number of years. However, assessments are going to go up, and we may not need that $4.5 million as time goes on. So I don't see a big plan for using this surplus money. In fact, because you have such a surplus, you probably will find a project for it sooner or later. And that's, it appears that just because it looks so small, it's only 2%, that we can do it, rather than financially speaking, what do you really need to run the town? Do you really need that extra $1 million? You don't really need it. Next year, reconsider, huh? You want it. Like we say, we have wants and needs. Hey, I want it, because I can get it. I can get it off them. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's complaining. Hardly. Over 10,000, 20 here, whatever. But I'm talking $13 million? 1 versus 14? That's so I almost sit there and argue. You're arguing about $10,000, and we got a $13 million surplus sitting. It just irritates me, so I can't take it. How many residents out there have 20% surplus sitting in the backyard somewhere or whatever, out in a bank account? And yeah, you love the schools, but $5 million, I thought it was 581 they needed, whatever they need. But they $5 million. Like I said, a family just moved out. They're going to lose 2 kids. I see that for sure right now. Auditorium. We've got to do an auditorium. I don't think they do any graduations in the auditorium. I'm not so sure we should clean it and paint it. But do we need $1 million for the auditorium? I don't know how many events happen there, but right now with the COVID's continuous activity we always hear, I don't know if you want to get together in no auditorium. Clean and paint, not $1 million. This is the kind of thing, if you got a $5 million surplus, I'm going to find $1 million job to do. And I can understand that. You're in charge, you get something to do, you got to find somebody to put it, got to justify it. And I'm not saying, it's so far out of whack. It's so unreasonable. I don't understand. I just don't understand why we need to keep $13 million there. Maybe it'll come down to 10, I don't know. I just don't understand. 1 year at a time. Let's do 1 year at a time. Instead of 5 years down the line. 1 year at a time. Let it be the first time that government officials did something based on financial responsibility. 0 increase this year. You're going to lose $1 million. Financial responsibility. Not a want, a need. What do you need? Be financially responsible. Do not take, I know it's pennies, oh, it's pennies. No, it's an attitude. The attitude, I can get this money, therefore I will. Another town is doing it. All the other towns are doing it, therefore we can do it. We can justify it. That's my opinion. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that. You see it all over the place. They're doing it, I can do it. Please, let's exercise financial responsibility on the existing budget for this 1 year with a 0 increase for the benefit of all the taxpayers in the town, for everyone's benefit, not for any specific group or any specific cause, but for everyone in this town. It's only pennies, but it's $1 million that the taxpayer doesn't have to pay. Get that news out there. Put that out in the front page somewhere. Dear taxpayer, we didn't take that extra $1 million that we kind of wanted, but we didn't really need. We are being financially responsible. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Stanley. Anyone else from the public? Okay. All right, so we've talked through this. Are there any last comments that we want to bring up for Chris to have that direction that she needs to make these final edits? No?
Yeah, I just want to mention the schools. Schools had a rough time with COVID. I have a 15-year-old in the school system, and, you know, I'm not too happy with the proficiency rates, but they've, you know, because of federal and state mandates, they, you know, they're forced to do certain things, and it interferes with the, you know, school learning process. So that's something that hopefully we can, you know, get over with. I mean, you still go to some state buildings, and everybody's still COVID, you know, sensitive. So hopefully we get over this, and we start getting back to, you know, process of learning. As far as Kenny Bungalow, we did do an RFP for HVAC system, and I believe it was $250,000. Does that number ring a bell, anybody?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So it's $250,000 for a building that what did we lose last year, 5,000 on it? We keep losing money on it. So I think if we can retain a private company, caterer, I think they would work with us. We took out that whole house fan, correct? The whole house fan, that's been removed, right? All right, no.
Yeah, you brought it up in the budget sessions.
Yeah, I think we got rid of that. Anyway, there's plenty of, you know, there's plenty of companies out there, now that COVID's over, that they want to take some chances. They're out there, and I think if we do an RFP, I think we can turn that building around with the proper partner on a lease, on a 5-year lease, you know, with options for every 5 years. So this is something that's doable, and take the cost off the taxpayer, Stanley, and keep this building historic and active.
All right, great. All right, Eva, any last things? You good? Okay, so again, so the public knows we'll have a first reading on the proposed budget May 16th, our next meeting. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. All right, thank you. Have a good night. All right, we're going to go back to our open forum before we go to consent agenda. Is there anyone from the public who has anything to speak on tonight? Dr. Alba?
Thank you, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. I would like to invite all of the honored guests and the dignitaries who are here today to a fundraiser we're going to be having. We had a wonderful fundraiser for Jordan Alden that Susan put together. I attended, and I noticed that all of you showed up, which was a great honor and tribute. For $15, you'll be receiving a pasta meatball dinner with some excellent desserts. We'll have silent auction and a raffle. For those who cannot make the event but still want to give, there's several other alternatives. You can buy raffle tickets, 10 for $10 or 15 for 25 tickets. You can also make donations directly to the Winfield family at Venmo at Terran Winfield, or you can also mail a check to the Winfield family with a check to Terran Winfield at 8 Clara Lane, Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882. The family is a family with 8 children. It's a beautiful family, husband, wife with 8 beautiful children. They have a daughter who's been fighting leukemia. She has to go to the hospital at least once a week for treatment. And they also have Liam, their little boy, who has been fighting seizures. So in the past, the Narragansett community has been great in joining together. We had the K to Cubulus run. We had a lot of 5Ks for different programs that were actually, you know, for years we participated in those. I ran some 5Ks back in the days. So if anyone would like to buy either the tickets for the event, they're $15 a piece, or if you're going to be attending the event, you could buy the raffle tickets at the day of the event. But if you can't, we can give you the code number, and we'll take your name and number down, and we would put your tickets into the various raffle options that are available. So I would like to thank you very much. I will be staying around after this meeting. As it's the 15th, the next time that we're going to have the town council meeting, the date for the event will pass. If any of you do not have the money today, you can also purchase tickets at the Bike Stop Cafe, or you can contact me or Catherine, and we'll have tickets available. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Alba.
Al.
So May 15th. Great, thank you.
It'll be 2 to 6 p.m. It'll be at the Elks Lodge, 60 Belmont Avenue, Wakefield, Rhode Island.
Okay,
Thank
got
you.
it. Thank you. All right, anyone else from the public interested in speaking in open forum? Yep, Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, 15th.
Please state your full name and address.
Dennis Lynch, 22 Central Street, Narragansett. So I did want to speak tonight about evil landlords. And actually, I don't think landlords are evil. I think they're like us. They're good, bad, and in between. And I think there are different types of landlords, too. So we have a lot of landlords in town. The landlords that rent year-round, I think, do a great service to the town in helping to build the fabric of the community and make year-round living available for people who can't afford a home here. We have other landlords that, you know, see it much more purely as a business, as an investment, and we have installed the 3-student regulation to try to manage it, because we haven't really managed our rental population, which is, most people think it's a third of the population of residences in town, you know, 3,000 units. And that's going to be a good thing, but as we, after some number of decades, are putting in management routines for that population, we have to recognize that there's a whole new inventory of landlords in Narragansett, the short-term rentals. And that's not a new phenomenon. It's been around quite a while now with internet-based sharing services like Airbnb and VRBO that help people rent out their facilities in town. And if you think about it, just, you know, practically speaking, we have year-round rentals near where we live, and they're part of the fabric of the community, the town, the neighborhood. When you have seasonal rentals, you have churn, and you have people that turn things over every 9 months or sometime every month. If you have Airbnb rentals, short-term rentals, you can have different people in there every weekend. You would actually have people in there every day different. And we have to start working on regulations for that. I mean, if I were to ask you how many of these types of rentals are there in the town of Narragansett, would you have a number? I don't think you probably do. There's a an analytical company that does this for a living called Air DNA, and they track number of short-term rentals per month in the town of Narragansett. In August of 2021, there were 900 listings. And in August of 2021, 865 of those listings booked. That's another 1,000 rentals that we're not controlling, managing, even counting. And if you take a look at our rental registration form, there's not even a place on here for short-term rental. You can be a seasonal renter, you can be a year-round renter, but we haven't started to accommodate that yet. And we have to start making provisions for that, lest, 10 years from now, we have a completely out of control issue on that type of rental. So I guess I'm here tonight to just, and I know we've talked about it in past town hall meetings, about having staff investigate that, but as we come to enforce the 3-student, we have to coordinate it with what we're doing with short-term rentals, and we have to be able to count them, we have to manage them, we have to get them registered. So now people like Stanley are paying money for year-round rental
Thank you,
people
Dennis.
that are good,
We just have to
and we're
stick-
not charging at all for these folks are counting them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Mary?
Mary Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. It sounds like you're going to try to eliminate beach rentals now, and that's what we thrive on, with the beach being here. And we already have registrations through the town as well as now the state, too. So think about that.
All right, thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Catherine? Please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I guess you all know that I'm no fan of the changes in the hiring process for the police department. We have merit systems, we have civil service systems. These were put in place to take the politics and the subjectivity out of hiring into government jobs. A core of this system is a written test. Written tests measure knowledge and ability to do a job. And now our police department is only going to count a written test as 50% of the score, and the other 50% is going to be an oral interview, which I don't care how objective you think you are, there's no way to take bias out of it. I don't think it's going to create diversity. If I did, I wouldn't stand here. The only way you get diversity in government jobs is to recruit. The police department has to go out there and recruit. They did this in Providence when my husband was on the fire department. He was teaching at the school that particular year. They were trying to diversify the fire department. They walked the neighborhoods in South Providence, the West End, and every place else, knocking on doors, trying to get people to apply to the fire department. And the police department did the same thing. And that's why Providence has a diverse police and fire department. They went out there and recruited. They didn't change the standards, and that's what's being done here. As far as bidding and the waiver of confidentiality, I could go on and on about that, but let's forget that. Bidding over, we're going to be the only department that's going to allow it. The ordinance doesn't just say entry-level positions. It says people can bid from other departments. So what does that mean? If there's a captain's opening and the chief says he wants to put it out to bid instead of hiring somebody who's been on our department for a while and on a list, he can do that, and that person wouldn't be able to move up in the ranks. I mean, talk about discouraging people from applying. I just don't think this bidding thing is a good idea. What's next? And maybe they're going to start bidding out the jobs in the clerk's office. Maybe some North Kingston wants to come and work at the Narragansett, clerk's office. I just don't. Nobody else does it. Why are we doing it, really? Just don't see the point of it. I could go on, but let's just say I'm just not a fan of what's going on. As far as the rental, I will tell you about the family that we're doing a fundraiser for. They do rent a home in Bonnet Shores. The owner is a California owner. I don't know why there are so many California owners in Narragansett, but there seem to be. I think our town was put out there on the dark web or something, like come to Narragansett, anything goes. But anyway, they wanted to sell the house, and of course, the little girl has leukemia, she's being treated. So the the owner said they would do a rent with option to buy, and they raised their rent $1,000, and then she reneged on the agreement, and she just raised the rent again, another $500, and they're on a month-to-month lease now, okay? So, I mean, there's, all different, from one end to the other with the landlord situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else? Okay. All right, we're going to close open forum and move to consent agenda. Are there any items on consent that any council members would like to remove? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
A second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Under new business, the IT department. Number 10 is a motion to approve the renewal of antivirus software with Zones LLC in the amount of $14,083.20. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a second? Okay. Motion by Susan, second by Eva. Discussion? Okay. Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. From the police department, number 11 is a motion to approve to hire one probationary patrol officer at the Narragansett Police Department. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Questions?
I spoke to the chief today about this, but you want to come up and just explain it, just because it was a great explanation, and I'm supporting it tonight, but maybe my colleagues might have questions.
I did have.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, I was kind of confused. That's why I called.
Yes, one of my officers applied to another police department, and they're interested in hiring him, and I expect that he will be hired, so he's going to be resigning. So it says contingent, because if he was not to be hired, then I wouldn't be filling the position, so it's a request contingent upon his resignation.
Okay. So again, yeah, this is a approval to have the ability to hire.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go to the public. Catherine?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. The motion also says that they can hire using the new standards. It's going to be somebody that applied March 30th or something. And isn't there a list? Don't we have a list? I remember last time you talked about, they said there were 10 people on the list, and those people qualified under the old standards. So we're not going to use that list. We're going to use a new list? Is that what's going on? Yeah. Well, what about the people that are on the old list? They're all hired? So that they're all hired. That's what or they
Or
don't,
not,
they don't
right?
want, they don't want the
moved
job
on.
yet,
Or-
or whatever.
yeah,
So
or
now
not.
we're going with a new list. All right, thank you. I just wanted clarification.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, any other questions from the council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Number 12 is a motion to pass a resolution approving the mutual aid agreement between the town of Narragansett and the University of Rhode Island and authorize the chief of police to sign said agreement. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? This is something we've done in the past, right? This is basically a renewal.
This is your night to shine.
We have MOUs with South Kingstown and North Kingstown Police. We don't have one standing with URI. We have provided assistance to them in the past, but this is a formalized.
Okay, so we've informally had kind of in a
Yeah,
relationship.
when they have like a commencement or whatever, they want to hire officers, this just formalizes the process.
Okay.
It's another partnership, too.
Yes.
Excellent.
All right, any
questions?
any questions for the chief?
No?
Okay. Catherine?
Whoops.
Please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. My night to beat up on the police department, I guess. Does South Kingston have a formal arrangement with URI? URI is in South Kingston. I don't, of course, if they need assistance, we're going to go there, but this is a formal arrangement where we're obligated to go.
But they would also come here. They
The
have,
URI Police Department?
they have campus officers. Haven't they come, Jim? We were talking about,
I
they've
think-
come to town before.
Yeah, well, that's probably what. The
When-
URI police officers, they have one? Okay, well, that's great. They have a big police department. That should be sufficient. I think that, we have hired extra police officers allegedly to deal with a student issue, and now we're going to go to the campus too. I don't know about this. I'm just really not happy with it.
We could bring URI over here. We haven't in the past, but it would be something that would be available to us if we wanted to use a K-9 officer, if we wanted to hire other
Right.
officers.
But we
This
have,
MOU, South Kingstown Police has the same MOU. North Kingstown Police has it. This is like standard practice. It's like our insurance carrier.
with URI.
We've been providing these services to URI for the 25 years that I've been here.
And that's
This is
fine.
just putting the agreement down.
So it's probably actually legally better to have it
It's
formalized.
better to have it. This is our insurance carrier that's asking for
Right.
this.
And it's
They wanna
reciprocal.
protect us.
It's reciprocal, right?
Correct.
Catherine, any other?
But again, we have 41 police officers, and we've also been told in the past, for years, that we have 10 extra to deal with URI students, and now we're going to use them to actually go to their campus. I just can't see it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, everyone good on the council? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 5-0. Number 13 from engineering is a motion to approve the contractor agreement with the Rhode Island Department of Human Services and authorize the town engineer to sign the agreement in order to participate in the 2022-2023 Rhode Island Low-Income Housing Water Assistant Program. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Councilor Kopak, seconded by Susan. Does anyone have questions for John or any comments? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a flyer or anything, so somebody can,
Is it in
there's
the-
nothing on the screen or anything?
Do you have your packet?
Yeah, no, I mean, for the public to look at.
I mean, we don't have a presentation. It's all in the packet.
Right, okay.
So it's similar to existing programs for like energy assistance, that sort of thing.
Right.
It's a good program.
All right.
Excellent.
I'm going to go to the public, and Patrick, if you have any questions, we'll.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Anyone from the public?
All means
Okay. Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 14 is a motion to award the bid for Scarborough wastewater treatment facility drainage improvements to the lowest bidder, Universal Construction Company, in the amount of $233,856.92, which is alternative 1. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Stanley, you coming up? Come on up.
But I just want to make one point. It looks like we have a grant on this one. We're only paying for half of it.
He doesn't have to say anything now.
Since it's such a large item, I would just like to know the justification for it and what's the solution? What is it going to fix? Is this a one-time thing? Is this a common thing that happens every so often? Drainage improvement. I'd just like to know the details so we know where we're spending the money.
Sure.
It'd be nice to know that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, why don't we have John come up real quick, give us an overview, and Deb, you're right, it is half funded with a grant.
A little bit more than half funded, actually.
Thank you, John.
Good evening, everyone, council members. Yeah, this project is basically, we have to reinforce 2 of the storm drain manholes that are inside the Scarborough plant. Essentially, it drains most of the area off of Knowles Way, Scarborough Hills, that area, and carries stormwater out to the outfalls. If those outfalls at the ocean, which is the discharge end of the stormwater pipe, if those were to, like we had a heavy storm or high tide and a coastal storm event that blocked those outfalls, all the stormwater coming down from, that's flowing in those pipes could start backing up, and then there's these two manhole structures that are inside the plant and behind the floodproofing barrier that we put in, could end up flooding out the wastewater treatment plant. So we need to reinforce the manholes with basically beef up the structural outside and put a bolt down cover on one, and then a graded top cover on the other, so it can relieve outside of a floodproofing berm.
Okay, all right.
This one, yeah, was through REMA, but a FEMA grant, but through our AMA. No, it's just a concrete construction on the outside of these two manholes, and one. Yeah, the one gets a bolt down cover, the other gets just like, it'll look like an old storm grate.
Any other questions for John? Nope. I think it was a good explanation. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, Richard? Please state your full name and address.
Yeah, Richard Vangermush, 55 Osceola. The Finance Committee has looked at the results from the wastewater department and has noted that for the last couple of years, we have a substantial loss, operating loss. Now, this is justified by saying, well, depreciation isn't a real expense, but it is. And the wastewater fund is just dripping away. And I realize the difficulty in saying we want to raise the wastewater rate, that facility. You know, really, you cannot keep losing the amount of money we're losing in the wastewater function. And this is not good. And you see it here when we need money to pay this. In accounting, the judgment as to what the price is, and especially in this case where there is no profit, you price at the cost of doing the service. The cost of doing the service is about $1 million short of the revenue. The reason given, well, depreciation really isn't an expense. I got news for you. Depreciation is an expense. And we really want to do a little better in pricing the wastewater service.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? Okay. Any other questions from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Now for Parks and Recreation, I believe. Yep. Number 15 is a motion to approve the request from the Narragansett Chamber of Commerce to sponsor the 6th Annual Rhode Island Calamari Festival. The festival was not held in 2021. Scheduled for Saturday, September 10th, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., with setup on Friday, September 9th, 2022, at Veterans Memorial Park and Gazebo Park, subject to state and local regulations.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion from the council?
Glad
Okay.
to see it at the park.
Anyone from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good
All
luck with that one,
opposed?
Peg.
All right, motion approved, 5-0. Number 16 is a motion to approve the request from the Parks and Recreation Department and the Narragansett Chamber of Commerce for the 2nd Annual Holiday Street Fair to be held on December 3rd, 2022, rain date December 4th, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 170 Clark Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to say that last year's was great, and I was really happy to see that you're adding parking and the ability to move people. Because I heard, if the only thing I heard that was even close to, an issue was parking. So that's really a great idea. Thank you.
It was great.
It was great.
I did have trouble backing out.
See, I'm telling you, we walked.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, anyone from the public? Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. All right, we'll be looking forward to that, both events. Number 17 is a motion to approve the expenditure of $15,500 to the Dunes Club, which represents 50% of the total fee for the 2022 fireworks display to be produced by Pyrotechnico Fireworks Incorporated. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I think we need to find a sponsor.
I know, we should have a sponsor.
I know we split it, but it would be good to find a sponsor.
But, so Dudes Club covers half, which is always good.
Yeah, it's a split.
Anyone from the public interested in commenting?
Date?
I think it's
the-
4th of July. Oh, the
No, it's
actual.
not the 4th.
Is it on the 5th? Let's see if it's in here.
Like the 5th or something, or the 5th.
It will be July 2nd, with a rain date of July 15th.
'Cause the barge
They
was
would do it
on
after the
18th.
Philharmonic if it rains on the 2nd. All right. The barge was unavailable on July 4th. Okay, so July 2nd this year,
Which is a Saturday.
which is nice.
Yeah.
And maybe different than South Kingstown. So, okay. Any other questions from Dr. Alba?
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I'm sure that the date for the Philharmonic, I don't know if that's set in stone.
It is.
But I think it'd be a wonderful compliment if they might want to consider, I don't know if they could logistically have the Philharmonic on the same time as the
It's already set.
fireworks. I know Stars and Stripes Forever, and there's a lot of songs which, when you have such a captive crowd there, it'd be a nice compliment. Like I said, I don't know if that's possible, but to have the Philharmonic and the fireworks, it'll be a beautiful day.
We already approved that.
Yeah, I think they would complement each other even more, so thank you.
Thank you. Well, if it rains on the 2nd, it'll happen the same day as the Philharmonic. Any other questions?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any, you guys?
I'm sorry.
You good, Eva?
Yeah.
Oh, you did, okay. All right, motion approved 5-0. Number 18, a motion to approve the contract with the University of Rhode Island Graduate School of Oceanography for shoreline mapping and analysis services for Narragansett Town Beach in the amount of $22,347. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion from the council? This is something
great.
that we have done for multiple
year,
years,
yeah.
right?
And a
And
baseline.
to give us that baseline. Is this the last year? Was that right? Okay, so this year, then one more year after this. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Anyone from the public? Stanley.
This is how I
Sam Wojcicki, 1044 Boston Neck Road. Is it possible to get this on the town website so we can see what the water levels are and changing maybe? Are they going to put it out there so we can look at it from year to year? That's question number one. Now, question number two is, I went to some lectures at URI, and we may see a 3-foot increase in our water level in my lifetime anyway, in 20, 30 years, maybe. I don't know what the exact day is. They said in 50 years it was 5 foot. That's what they mentioned, 50 years. But it was not a straight line. It was not a straight line. It was, so the first few years,
I think it
it's
was
not that.
3 inches in the last 100 years. It's going to be 5 feet in the next.
Yeah, they
Okay.
had all these schemes. It was a little scary, but just seeing a 2-foot increase is scary. But it's kind of, let's see the data. If they got the data, if they're taking the data, let's see and put them on our site so we can see them, pay attention. And I'd like to try and coax them to continue to do this, so we can kind of keep track of it a little bit. See if that lecture was a dumb thing, see if they were all messed up. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Stanley.
Keep getting that grant money.
Okay, anyone else from the public? Okay, anyone from the council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Number 19 is a motion to approve the request from Gray Matter Marketing to conduct the 9th Annual Osha Road 10K Road Race to be held on Sunday, October 2nd, 2022, from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., subject to state and local regulations. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. All right, number 20 from the town solicitor is a motion to introduce, pass, read, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 26, Article 2, Division 7, entitled Fee Tables of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right. So this comes from a item on last meeting's agenda
It's a
from
little-
Councilor Cicilline Bonanno.
It's a little housekeeping, but maybe you could just kind of speak to it, just.
So, James, you mind speaking?
Sure. This was to be consistent with the building permit fees. At some point, there was an amendment to the fire fees, and this waiver process, which is in the building permit process, was not included in the fire fees. So this just allows the town council, upon request, in its discretion, to waive in full any fees if they feel necessary. And it really just provides consistency.
I understand it very well now.
Yes.
Right, and this is, so the original item had to do with places of worship and that sort of thing. This is not. This is basically just gives the council that authority that it should have had previous to the last change to waive fire fees, regardless of what the reason is.
Correct.
Right, okay. All right, any discussion? Anyone from the public? Ms. Celeberto? Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrero, 48 Earls Court. This doesn't mean like the fire fees are going to go into the building inspector account, does it?
No.
The fire fees will still go into the fire department's
Right.
account?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's just the ability to waive.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if there's no other comments from the council, we'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Now, from the town council, we have number 21. It's a motion to pass a resolution requesting the General Assembly to authorize a bond referendum at the 2022 general election, to authorize the town of Narragansett to finance the improvement, replacement, construction, renovation, repair, reconstruction, and/or restoration of roads, sidewalks, storm drains, public buildings, and other public infrastructure in the town, and to issue not more than $20 million bonds and notes. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, this comes from Councilor Cicilline Bonanno.
Well, I'm not going to take all the credit. I think that the manager, the finance director, bond counsel, and the financial advisor, Steve Massaroni, have all taken pieces of this. You know, we had a bond for $17 million for the roads. We have $2.6 million left, and we're still not in great shape. Right now, the 6-year capital improvement plan, there's $51 million that need to have capital projects that need to be improved over 6 years. So all the financial advisors said, we can incur the debt, we can do it over time, and this would be just the ability for the residents of this town to vote if they would like it. We're voting tonight, not just to make it happen and get on the ballot. And it would be up to the residents of Narragansett if they wanted to approve the bond or not. And so I have been extremely frustrated myself with the roads, and I know that we get caught up because we don't have the permits or it's taken long at the state. But we have a lot of work to do, and it gives us the ability to do half of the projects, not even all of them, but it cuts away at, buildings. Tonight I heard about the towers not having air or heat on Clark Road. So it would give not only infrastructure, but it would be public buildings, and it's kind of broad, so it would be up to the town on what those specific buildings and infrastructure on the roads. When I first started working on it, I thought, well, getting all this infrastructure money, why would you bond $20 million? But that money really is staying at the state level, and it's a lot harder. We're not sure we're going to get that exact amount or how much we're going to get. So this would ensure the voters of the town the ability to make some major improvements that are well needed. So that's what this is about. And I'd like probably Chris, Jim, or anybody that wants to add anything that I might not have said. Chris?
Good evening again. So as Susan said, this is, a lot of people put in work, and this is just to continue our roads. We're not going to go out to bond next month for $20 million. This is just, like we did with the last road bond, was in 2012, and we only have 2.6 million left. So if we want to continue road improvements or any infrastructure to the buildings that we have, this would give us the ability to go to bond for not more than $20 million over the next 10, 20 years, whatever it takes us to go to bond and spend it. We don't do it now. You know, this is just, will give us the ability to go to bond in the future. Do you understand that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but it also doesn't preclude going after grants and funds that are available through, the state and even federal government.
Right, and this could last 30 years.
Right,
This could, yeah.
And this is something that this is a routine that happens from time to time because you need to have that ability to borrow to do the roads and everything else.
Right, and it has to go through voter initiative to be approved, correct?
This would be on the ballot in November.
Yes. Mhm.
That's all we're doing.
That's right.
That's all it is, yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Any discussion from the council? Questions? You guys? Okay, we'll go to the public. Richard.
Yeah, Richard Vangermish, 55 Osceola. I'm speaking here as a member of the Finance Committee, which really, to my knowledge, had no inkling that this was coming up. And that probably isn't good. Now, the $15 million road improvement has lasted about 12 years, but that doesn't mean that this $20 million is going to be dispersed over the next 15 years. I mean, this could be done immediately. The last time we did this, we had a real rigorous committee look at it and spent a great deal of time analyzing the roads. And I would suggest you run this by the Finance Committee. This is why you have a Finance Committee. And it also brings up the point that there has to be public controls over this. There has to be a committee that analyzes the bond proceeds and where they go, and we don't like to do that. We tend to like to keep it closeted within the inner structure. I give you an example, the library building, in which we did have a projects committee which died quite quickly. It isn't good to have something as casual as this, even though the last time we dribbled out $15 million, possibly over 15 years. But without really public committee, where the public can go to a meeting and say, this is too quick to do this, it isn't good to have any bond project without a very rigorous external control committee, which forces that committee to invite the public to a discussion of how we plan to expend this. And I see this with the library, where the public really doesn't have an input into what is going on. And in this case, unlike the last time when we had a real rigorous committee who looked at the $15 million, did a lot of work preliminary to the bond, we don't see the same thing here. But I do ask that the Finance Committee be given a look at this so we can give our view as to what type of, are we overcommitted in long-term budgets? And by the way, as long as we have that automatic COLA, we really have a long-term financial problem.
Thank you, Richard.
She's watching the clock.
Please state your full name and address.
Sam Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I don't like getting a mortgage and paying interest if you don't have to. You know, do we really need a bond and pay that interest? What I'm sensing we have here is a maintenance costs, maintenance of roads, maintenance of buildings, maintenance costs. And maintenance is kind of a yearly thing that should be done. I mean, we don't let things go so bad that we have to go out and get a mortgage to fix it. So, you know, here you've got $14 million hanging around. Let's say take away one, so give that to the taxpayer, so you still got $13 million. And in the future, I think with assessments going skyrocketing the way they are, that you're going to continue to have your $10 million surplus. So I suggest that you get on a pay-as-you-go approach. You know, maybe we spend $3 million a year on roads and buildings, and do what the professor says here, the doctor says, vet all these items to make sure that need to be done now, make sure we got the 3 quotes, get all the details down to verify the costs. Because I get a feeling that if we don't do that, we got the money, let's go. You know, again, we got the money there, let's go. We got the bond money, let's go. No, let's have somebody go over all the details. You know, do we really have to grout? Do we have to grout the doggone, all the doggone red bricks? I'm not so sure. I guess we do, but can we do that on a yearly basis, so many every year? Same thing on the roads. You know, there's a lot of roads out there. And, you know, a bumpy road, I've been on a bumpy roads, and they're not so bad. So you get on a bumpy road, and that's actually speed bumps. From my perception, they get on Rockland Street here. When they took out the speed bumps, the cars go up Rockland Street to the church at 90 miles, well, they're fast as hell. You know, I mean, fixing a road, yeah, that's a good idea, but not entirely, you don't have to do it tomorrow, you know? And we can tolerate some bumpy roads if we can save some money on interest on this bond issue. So let's look at a year-to-year maintenance plan so we don't have to go out and get mortgages to accomplish our maintenance, if you will. So I suggest you table this until you pass it by the finance guys and get organized with some other input.
Thank you, Stanley. Anyone else from the public? Dr. Alba? Please state your full name and
Yes,
address.
Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. I recently spent some time in Florida, St. Petersburg, and visited Venice. And the roads are beautiful there, well-maintained. When you're driving your car, you don't have to worry about, you know, the bottom of your car falling out. When I used to go to church, St. Thomas More on Rockland Street, you know, saying a prayer, the bumps were so bad, and the people living on that road, you know, I just felt bad for them as well. So it was well overdue, and I don't see it being a speeding hazard, people going to church that quickly. So I just feel money on our infrastructure and on our roads, I think that's money well spent. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Mr. Lynch? Please state your full name and address.
Dennis Lynch, 22 Central Street, Narragansett. It seems like just yesterday, but I was on the Citizens Committee for the road bond, the $17 million. I guess it was 2012 when we started that. And it was a sister organization to the Finance Committee that could provide sort of dual advice and counsel to the town council. A couple of things. When we did do that, we had, engineering specialists that have done all of the other towns that came in and did a very careful review of trying to categorize which roads needed to be done in which order and, what level of severity was the repair necessary for each road. I think that added a lot of clarity to how we were going to spend the money. This feels like almost not quite ready for prime time, because when you do ask the voter to check the box, it would be good for the voter to have greater clarity into exactly what those dollars are going to be for. I know there are towns and municipalities that do just do a bulk amount and then specify as you get closer to the actual bond offering, but I think that process worked very well. So, there might be value in, because we still have $2.5 million left on the 17, there might be value in delaying this until next year in order to really, lay out an inventory, because we were supposed to get 20% of the roads done for the 17-6. We didn't do that because once you got into underneath the surface of some of them, down by coastal areas, you ran into much more structural problems than you thought. So maybe there's value in waiting a year if there's not a great deal of urgency attached to this. And secondly, I'd offer for your consideration, it had a lot of value to call it a road bond, because that's the #1 complaint of the citizens in Narragansett in infrastructure, the roads, and perhaps taking out the public buildings and other miscellaneous here and making it specifically about roads could really tighten the focus and have people understand, yes, this is going to get the bumps out of the roads for me, or not have the roads collapse for the roads that need to be rebuilt. So a couple of suggestions for you to think about as you proceed with this.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay, let's go back to the council for discussion.
I just have a couple of things. I forgot to mention that the audit report also speaks to being accepted and that we could do this, right? The Bacon and Edge, so that report reflects that every year, that this would be an amount that we could incur. So I wanted to say that. And to the comments about going to the Finance Committee, although I have great respect for the Finance Committee, we have people that work in the town, like the finance director and the bond counsel and our financial advisor, who are paid employees that really seek out the expertise. So Steve Massaroni and the bondsman, I think that's a really good indication that that's what they do for the town. So I feel comfortable with that. And then to Dennis's, one of the reasons the bond was written for not just infrastructure, and I agree that was the #1 complaint when we did this survey in 2012, that people cared most about their roads in the town of Narragansett. But we added the buildings because there's so much that needs to be done in the buildings, so we did kind of make it broad, and it was intended to be that way. But again, the voters ultimately decide. This is only getting it on the ballot to the General Assembly and on the ballot. It's going to be up to the residents of Narragansett. And I think, Steve, the roads, there's specific roads that we put in there that are left over that we want to continue as well. It's kind of, again, open-ended as far as, which ones are going to go first and so on. But there's a number of roads. I think it wasn't 17 million in the total, yeah. Yeah. So to that point, I think there's some advantages of not just saying infrastructure, but saying public buildings in the town. And, that's a decision that hopefully the council will let the voters of Narragansett decide what's really important to the town.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the council?
What's the timetable for this year's ballot initiative? What's the latest we can float this? I think we're pretty close as far as timetable.
Yeah, when does it have to be submitted?
Yeah.
I don't have the exact timetable. I'd have to work that out with Janet.
Right, but
It has to go to the General Assembly,
yeah, right.
Right.
so it's really on their time frame.
Right. Say we did kick this to the Finance Committee, is there time for them to vet this and then look it over? And as far as getting it on the ballot for this year.
The General Assembly ends the end of June.
Right, right.
So,
Not much
The
time
next
at all.
finance
Not much
committee is
time.
what, May 23rd?
Yeah.
May
Yeah,
23rd,
so there's
I
not a
believe.
lot of time.
There's not a lot of time.
I guess, Chris, the question is, would it, I mean, you're the finance director. I mean, would that be the right to go to the finance committee to render a decision, what they think? Or do you feel confident with the list of professionals and experts that you have for the town?
I feel confident with the list of, with the people we've talked and brought into it, Bond Counsel, Taft McSally, PFM, Steve Massaroni. They've all said that we're in good shape to go. We're not going to bond $20 million tomorrow. This is just the authority that we can go to bond in the future. If we don't get it on the ballot, we don't go to bond. And we don't do any roads for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. We do nothing.
No, you
So
answered the
that's-
question, so
yeah.
thank you. Yep.
But once we go to bond, we could involve, whatever structures or organizations within the town that we need to determine,
Right, we're
what
finishing,
gonna
as
do
far
with
as the
it.
roads go, they're finishing Phase 3, which hasn't been done yet. So that's about,
it's
Phase 3, and I think that's almost $8 million just to finish Phase 3.
Right,
And what do we have left in that previous bond?
2.6.
right. So we can't even finish.
Right out of the gate, we need 6.
Right, and then there's Phase 4 and Phase 5, which would take more engineering and to do the roads again, because that was looked at way back in 2012 or 17, it was updated for Phase 4 and 5, so that needs to be updated again, and that would be additional money. That's just the roads. That doesn't include any buildings or other infrastructure.
I've never seen a bond issue that didn't get passed. Usually, state of Rhode Island, if it says bond,
Narragansett
that means
residents are
yes.
smart people.
They love a good bond issue.
I just, like the library, we're getting like 1.5%. I mean, we had a great rate.
We had great
It
rates,
was
yeah.
beautiful rates, but this is gonna be like 5, 6, and who knows, with inflation, this could be 10% bonds for roads that.
We'll do it at the
Well, then
right
maybe
time.
The council
you
might
choose
decide
not to do it.
issue them
Yeah,
at
we'll
that
do it
point.
at the right
Right.
time.
Then you just don't use it. You
yeah.
just don't go to
Yeah, well,
bond.
exactly. It's gonna be another town council's decision.
Exactly.
To, hey, should we, get a 10% bond to fix South Pier Road or whatever, so.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Do you give them the purse?
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Eva, I have a few questions. Eva, do you have questions?
I have questions, but if we did wait, it'd be another 2 years till it got on the next, for the next election, so that's
Or a
the delay.
special
So if
election.
yeah, if
Yeah,
there's a
which we
special,
don't wanna
so.
do.
But then you have to pay for, then you're paying for another
Right,
election.
right, what
too.
I'm saying is, that's why it's important to kind of get it through, to get
Right.
it on there for the residents to decide, and it's been better.
It can get on this ballot for
Yeah.
November,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what
And
she's saying.
But I'm just saying, like, if it doesn't move
Then you gotta
forward, then
wait
it's
for
going to
2
be
more
like,
years.
unless
Yeah.
we have a special election, it's going to be 2024.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's sort of a marker, a placeholder
Yeah.
for us to move forward.
Right, so,
It's not a done deal.
and ultimately, it's going to be up to the people if they want it.
Can't argue.
So we have Phase 3B of the roads, of the road construction plan, which is 8 million, right? So that's what we talked about, and we have like 2 million to cover it, so we're still short 6. So we know we need that money. And I wasn't here then, but is 3B left over from the initial planning, the finance committee's deliberations and that whole plan? Are those specifically roads that were outlined back then in 2012? Does anyone know that? I think they were, right? So that is actually leftover research and work that the special committee provided to the council. So really, we didn't have enough in the bond to finish those, so this new bond would cover that. And then it looks like Phase 4 and 5 have estimated costs of 14 million. And these numbers don't include any escalation. And
that's
I think
20
we all
million right
know at this point that the escalation could be significant, as we've seen over the last couple of years.
Right.
So we know we're going to need 20 million, just based off these numbers, just to do the roads at some point. However, I am in agreement with Mr. Lynch on two on the wording of this in two ways. So I think it does make sense for me, and we'll talk about this, to take out the public buildings
Right.
out of this.
You have capital improvement.
Right. I think you market this as a road bond. It is a road bond. It does, we all know exactly what it's going to do. And it doesn't give a future council the ability to do something with
Put
a
HVAC system in freaking.
Well, who knows?
Kenny
I mean,
Bungalow.
who knows what anyone could, what do we want to do? Do we want to have this money so a council can do work on buildings in addition to roads? Or do we want to just say, we know we have $20 million in road work?
I just want to make one point. My penance for not being here for the budget meetings was to watch all of them. And so I've done so more recently than you guys, were engaged in them. And I mean, this came out of that. The discussion was, if we're going to consider a bond, we should look at it from the standpoint of what we would need a bond for. And anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I took away. And that included, infrastructure activity besides roads, because there are other things in the town. I think we've talked about issues with sewage pipes, with all kinds of things, and what keeps being found when people start digging up roads to pave them is that there's other things underneath that need to be fixed too. And I think that was the nature of the conversation. So if that's the case, I believe, and again, all of you folks who worked on this, I think that's the reason for the language that's in there. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So do we need
most
two
of the
bonds?
language. Most of the language. So you have sidewalks, storm drains, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then we also specifically have public buildings and
buildings.
other public infrastructure.
was-
So
that
I don't
was-
know about the public
So you
buildings
want to take
part.
public buildings out?
No, that was purposeful.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
proposing we
Yeah.
take out.
I mean, that's the discussion,
Because
but.
I just think that we know we have enough roads that need to be repaired and
Well, that's
repaved
true.
that'll be $20 million. So there's a possibility of some of that money getting spent on more of some pet projects or whatever you want to call them, other projects, and then you still don't finish these phases of the road, which is what we're basically saying we want to do.
So would you
you
just
have-
take public buildings out, or public buildings and other public infrastructure?
The public infrastructure might be a question for James.
I mean, I got to tell you, we heard it tonight, we talked about it at the workshop. This has a lot of roads in it, but we did talk about the need and the ability to repair buildings. We have $51 million that we need to do both. And so it was a combination of roads and public buildings. I think it's necessary. It came up all 3 nights when we were talking about different buildings. And so it was with intent to have them together. So I know.
For you,
don't want-
right, yeah. No, I know
drafted with
that.
people, and that was the intent of this bond. So if you want to modify it, I mean, if I don't have anybody that wants buildings in there, I guess I'll compromise that. But it truly, again, a bunch of people worked on it. It was intended, and it was put in there specifically for that. And I don't know if Jim or Chris, I mean, to me, it devalues it. I think it's important that it's in there, and it was done in a broad way so that, we could do that. So,
I just think I think it's possibly too broad, because when people vote for it, they don't know exactly what they're voting for. But if it's roads, they know exactly what they're
it
voting
says
for.
it, public buildings and
But it could be,
infrastructure.
but I mean, that could mean anything. That could mean building an entirely new building that doesn't even exist.
And not that nobody had building a new building in mind.
Really.
It was more about town hall, it's falling apart, the facade, the elevator. If something didn't get funded through ARPA, but the HVAC, clean up this building was a big part of it, and any other buildings. If you get too specific, then you get stuck with, we have bond authorizations from 1998 that we can't use because it's too specific. So it's just sitting there. So it was meant to be more generic. So I see what you're saying about future councils maybe doing something that people wouldn't like. They could vote on it. I mean, they'd have to come to council.
So basically,
But
what could have
the
happened?
intent was to keep it wide, a little open, so you could have a little leeway, and it wouldn't be too specific. You could also get stuck if you went to bond for $3 million to do something so specific, and you didn't the project didn't cost $3 million. Now you're getting into an issue where you have to give money back, and that's happened here before. And you have to go through IRS, and it's a big
But if we took
process.
out, I'm just saying, and
Yeah.
we'll have to get a consensus, if you take out public buildings, it would still be pretty broad for everything that goes along with fixing roads, this would cover. It just, you wouldn't specifically cover public buildings.
And that's your choice, right?
Right.
But
I just
the
wanna be-
intent
yeah.
was to include
Yeah, I know, no, I
buildings.
got it,
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll
That's
go
fine.
around the council.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to repair a road and you have infrastructure problems like the sewer or water lines, I mean, that's the time to fix it, because you don't want to fix it later after you put a new, blacktop. So, yeah, I can keep the infrastructure part there, and 86 the building, public buildings.
Any other thoughts? Susan, you want to leave it as it is, right?
I want to keep it just as it is, but I mean, I'm listening to the council. I mean, you guys can decide. Ultimately, I think it's well done. I think it speaks to the needs, the 51 million, that the capital needs that we have. I feel confident in the people that worked on it, but I mean, if you'd like to amend it, I'd like to hear what the compromise is, but I think it's well done the way it is.
Okay. Deb or Eva, any thoughts?
I don't have an issue leaving it as is.
As is? Okay. As is? Okay. So that's the consensus. Cool. So we already went to the public, so we'll do a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No? Okay. Motion approved, 4-1. All right. Where are we? We are on number 22, which is a motion to schedule a public work session for the planning board and town council to discuss the peer parking study, assessments and options. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, so this is from myself and Councilor Cicilline Bonanno. So if everyone recalls, I don't know how far back this went, like a year ago?
Yeah, I think it was like a year ago.
A year ago, Susan put an item on
11 months.
to direct the town manager to work with staff to work on basically a parking study for the pier area. That proceeded, that went to the planning board. From there, a few public workshops were held with businesses and residents. And now, basically, it's kind of back to us to see which direction we want to go. The planning board has requested, I'm not sure if they requested or if they kind of mentioned a joint workshop with the council to go through all the options, talk about it, and then figure out really what options are feasible, what do we want to do. So this is to schedule that public workshop. The recommended date on this would be May 23rd, which is the same night as that URI thing, at 6 p.m. I have confirmed with the chair of the planning board that night is good, but we could talk about that. But that's what this is. So Susan, you can add if you want.
So I was just looking at another date, because after the president of URI talked about the strategic planning, I think, getting involved in what's going to evolve out of URI is, I think, a pretty important meeting as well. So I was just wondering, the next council meeting's the 6th, if Mr. Fleming, if you talked to him, and that was another date, we could do it before the next council meeting. So if people wanted to go to the strategic planning for URI, they could do that. But I mean, whatever the pleasure of the council.
The 6th is a Monday that we have a
Yeah.
meeting, is that right?
Yeah, it's the 1st of the June meeting. It's the 1st of the
That's an
month,
actual
right?
town council
Yeah, that's a council meeting, so we could do it at 6. We were doing it at 6 on the.
And do it for an
Yeah.
hour. We'd only
I
have
mean,
like an hour.
I guess before we change that, I mean, is there a desire to go to that strategic planning, or you want to just keep, like,
I think it'd be worth going to.
yeah?
So both of
Would-
you want, if you both want to go, I think it makes sense to change.
Ever and Patrick, would you want to go to that? It's a strategic planning for URI?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, either way, we don't want to lose 2 council members that night. We don't, so I'm fine with changing the
Do we have
date.
to do it on Monday night?
No, it can't be on a Tuesday night, though. Well, it could be, as long as it's not a planning board meeting, but we'd have to double check all of that.
I mean, it works really well before a meeting.
I know, well, that's okay with me, we could do it at 5:30.
Bad for you,
Usually
too.
we have enough
Yeah,
time.
so how about June
Bad.
6th at that next
I'm
meeting?
okay with that.
So how about June 6th?
Do you think that's going to give us enough time?
No, I think Deb's right. I think
don't
we
we
should
do
do
it at
like
5:30?
5:30, because all the
Could bring
parking
in some
stuff.
of this new
yeah.
barbecue, and we'd be all set.
hour and a
Yeah, the
half.
barbecue place, there you go.
How's 5:30 on June 6th for, Eva, can you make that?
We're going to be here.
Okay. All right, so we're going to change that date to Monday, June 6th. See, the only question is if that's too early for some of the planning board members. Can we can be flexible on, can we just be flexible on the date? Do we, or not? I feel like we've done that before, but maybe not. Or do we want to do it?
What's your concern at 5:30, because they're in
It's
here?
pretty early, you know, for people
Because
with,
they're
right?
here?
No, it's just that's early, like, some people work until 5:30.
You can also do it on the off Monday,
Another off
if you want to do it like June 13th.
Yeah. Can we do that as a backup date if this is too early for the, can we say?
Why don't we just do the 13th as
Yeah, let's just do
instead of trying to cram it out?
Let's just do the 13th. Then we have to come back on another Monday.
That's all right.
All right, so we're going to change this to Monday, June 13th at 6 PM.
Yep.
Okay? And hopefully that works for at least a few members of the planning board. All right. Any comments from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 23 is a motion to approve a victualling license and holiday license application for Gotta Q Brands LLC, doing business as Gotta Q by the Sea, 1155 Point Judith Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right, I apologize. I had to sit through 3 hours of this. This is a application for a new business in town that will be taking over the old Iggy's location on Point Judith Road. And we do have the applicant here. So why don't we bring him up? We have Michael Strout. Thank you. Sorry again. Do you want to give us a little description of what you'll be doing?
Certainly. To let you know who I am, my name is Michael Strout, and I'm from Cumberland. I own, and I'm the national award-winning pit master for Gotta Q Smokehouse Barbecue in Cumberland. My background is I'm a 37-year retired fire rescue, EMS, and law enforcement officer. And then I've been doing this ever since. So I've been doing barbecue for over 20 years. In Cumberland, we have a 140-seat, full restaurant, sit-down, take-out, full bar, one of the largest whiskey bars in Rhode Island, and it's part of our service. We also do catering, we also do food trucks, we do trailers, we do the whole 9 yards. Down here, we'll be taking over the East building, and we'll be putting in a takeout service for outdoors, a picnic area on the right-hand side as you face it, and 25 to 40 seats inside, depending on what the fire department approves, inside. My goal, though, isn't just to appeal to the tourists and the seasonal. My goal is to bring our real barbecue down to South County for once, because we have a lot of people that do commute and go up to our restaurant. We are a destination where we are right now. And so that part does include attempting to get a liquor license for this location. I know I'm starting late. I mean, because we're looking to occupy and open, if we can, by the 1st of June. I have a liquor license. I go through the process in Cumberland every year, and I know what it takes. The good part about us is we're already ready for everything. We're ready for our certificate of good standing from DOR and the state and all that kind of stuff. So we're already there. The point, though, is that with your blessings, I'm going to get this thing open as quickly as I can and then try and drive forward. I was told, though, that there's a special use issue with this building that could muddy the waters a little bit, and I'm hoping that could be worked with or worked around.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know, the liquor license, I would say to be in touch with our town clerk as soon as possible. Janet Taro, right there.
Okay.
You can work with her on that. And I'm not sure about the special use permit for that building.
Okay.
James, that's a BA zone, I believe, right? So do you need a special use permit in a BA zone?
For a liquor license?
Yeah.
I think you
A
do
liquor license?
for every
Every liquor license.
every place that wants to sell liquor needs
Right.
a special permit.
Yeah, it's just an extra step.
So is that a long process, or is that a,
That would be a application through community development.
okay. All right, well, I'm in town for the next 3 days continuously, so I'll be back over tomorrow and speak.
Yeah, start the process, and we might be able to speed it up on our end, contingent upon
Okay.
X.
Any help that y'all could give us would be great. That
Sure.
It increases the revenue by a lot, and it makes it a lot.
Nothing wrong with
a lot nicer.
barbecue,
Other
that's
than
for
that,
sure.
we're excited to be here. We're excited to come down, and we look forward to seeing everybody.
So are you
Excellent.
planning on being open year-round?
That's the plan. The plan is, we're very active in Cumberland, in our community. So we plan on being active in your community as well. That means we're considered one of the best hiring spots for kids that there are because we teach and train. We keep kids year after year after year that stay with us. We treat everybody as family. We donate to the community. We do meals. We serve via Northern Rhode Island Food Bank. We do about 8,000 meals a year that we do through them. We do projects with the high school. We do fundraisers for all the sports in the high school. The goal is to be part of the community wherever we go. And that's my wife and I, and our philosophy is our Christian and family-friendly values. So that's how we plan on being here as well. So having said that, to answer your question, yes, we do plan on being here 12 months out of the year. But once again, it's going to depend on what we have that can attract the locals as we go along.
Right.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Mr. Strout? Nope. Okay, great, well, we're happy to have you down here.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hand a business card over.
And do we have anyone from the public interested in speaking? Okay, Dr. Alba,
Thanks.
please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Yep, I'm a supporter of small businesses, and they have a vibrant business in another part of the state, and it's been doing very well. So I'm in full support of this business. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0, and good luck. Number 24 is a motion to approve a victualling license application for Carolina's LLC, doing business as, Carolina's Bakery and Kitchen, 1014 Boston Neck Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, subject to state and local regulations. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, so this is, if anyone's been there, Carolina's Bakery, which has been sharing a space with Gansett Poke.
Yeah.
And they're moving to the newly refurbished building right across the street.
Great.
And that's great for them. So, any questions?
No.
All right, anyone from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Number 25 is a motion to approve a miscellaneous license application for a Sunday parking license for Laz Parking LLC, 3 Copley Place, Suite 3202, Boston, Massachusetts, doing business as Laz Parking, 307 Great Island Road, Plat I-G, Lot 118-S, subject to state and local regulations. Is that is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
I actually,
Motion by Susan, second by Patrick. So that address, that plat and lot might sound familiar to some people out there. I have some thoughts on this, but we're going to go around the council.
Yeah, I really needed a little explanation on it. I was a little confused on it. Sorry.
The license was previously held by 365 Parking LLC, and they did not renew their contract. So and now it's with Laz Parking.
Okay. I can add a little bit to this as well. So these are the 2 lots behind the Lighthouse Inn in Galilee. The ones that were announced to be awarded to the Procaccianti Group after all the kind of the full process of the town participated in with the state. So Procaccianti will be eventually operating those 2 lots as parking. I have some questions about this because as far as I know, and as far as I think some other people know, I don't believe that a lease has been signed for that property yet. So the state said they were going to go with Procaccianti. The State Properties Committee will be meeting at some point to review this lease. But my understanding, and if anyone knows differently, just say it, is that this has not been signed. So I don't understand how Procaccianti could subcontract the parking for that lot if they don't have a current lease.
Right now.
But the other thing I just want to mention is, so this is for a Sunday license. You don't need to have a license to operate a parking lot on the other days of the week?
You do. Oh, so this is a question that I have. I would like a clarification on this. So Janet, so they applied for this special use permit for Sunday parking, but is the current lessee of the property in compliance with Galilee Special District, which allows any parking by special use permit only? So this is different from, just the Sunday parking everywhere. So if you're looking at 4.8.2 of the Galilee Special District, the table of uses, it requires a special use permit for any parking. So that would mean any day. So that's my question is, do they have that on, are they in compliance with
The
that?
special use permit is not, is separate from the license. That's something that community development.
So
right.
can we ask
address.
Mike DeLuca if they do, are they in compliance with the special Galilee district in terms of uses for parking?
I have not done any homework on this site to specifically look up their permitting history, but I would venture to say that there is no special use permit for this site. I will look it up for you. The state typically exercises their superior authority in these circumstances.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to. They're supposed to come to local zoning. That's the whole point. There's legal precedent to that. And that's what I've been saying all along. But anyway, but as Jesse said, this is the lease that's not,
That's all I need to know.
yeah, so it hasn't really been, it hasn't moved forward, so
Table it.
we can kick the can down the road for now.
Right, so, okay, thank you, Mike.
I will look that up.
So we'll go to the public, and then we'll come back to the council. Dr. Alba, and then we'll go to Catherine.
Hi, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Greg Schultz, the assistant to the Rhode Island Attorney General's office, sent me an email because I was very concerned about the upcoming State Properties Committee meeting, that I wanted to make sure that it was not going to go under the radar screen. And he replied back to me that Dr. Al Alba, believe me, we will give you plenty of advance notice. And I asked him if it would possibly be Zoom so that we could have broad participation. He says, I am going to advocate for that. So he said, we want to hear feedback from many people from Rhode Island because it's been such an outcry with regards to this Procaccianti RIDM behind-the-scenes deal. So I hope and pray that we all can have our say so that we have full transparency. Because to me, it's outrageous what the RIDM has done to the town of Narragansett. It has usurped our powers. It has not played fair. And people are telling me, one contractor who knows Procaccianti told me that Procaccianti owns the State House because he has that much political clout in the state. A lot of people tell me this is politics as usual in the state of Rhode Island, where our state agencies do behind-the-scenes deals with these big-time contributors to politicians. So I hope that we can stop this outrageous behind-the-scenes deal by Procaccianti. He has already $10 billion in investments. He doesn't need this piece of pie in Narragansett. As a result of the Block Island situation, he bought the Champlain's Marina, and just prior to buying it, it was illegally expanded upon as determined by the Rhode Island Attorney General's office. Right now it's being heard by the Supreme Court, and Mr. Greg Schultz said a final decision will be forthcoming. So to me, it's foolhardy for this to even be considered right now, as was mentioned by the doctor, Eva Dajowski. No, sorry.
Al, come on, you should know it by now.
We have to, we cannot even entertain this right now. We have to also stop them in their tracks. What I was also told that a special use permit has to be appropriated for this. So we have to reach out to zoning and put all stops. We cannot condone this. We cannot allow business as usual, as people tell me, that goes on in the state of Rhode Island.
Thank
It's
you, Al.
sickening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Catherine?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. This license is for a year, correct? Procaccianti or PRI tenant, whatever you want to call them, they don't have a lease for a year. They have a very short-term lease, and it's been extended like a few months at a time, You can't give somebody a license when they don't even have a lease on the property for a year. And the other thing is, this says 375 spaces, and I am sure that their lease is 300 spaces with DEM. They wanted to expand to 500, but they have 300. I don't know where this 375 comes from, but I have a funny feeling that that's what's going to go before the Properties Committee. They want to expand to 375, but they don't have permission to expand to 375 yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay. Anyone, any other thoughts from the council?
No, Jesse, I think you said the best thing. So they're subletting a lease that they don't even have the right to do. So I'm a no.
So the only question is, do we want to continue this, table this, or reject it? We could do any of those things.
I'd reject it as is, really.
Or just table it till they get their act together.
Table?
Table till they get their.
James, if this is voted down, could they just, is it fine for them to they could just reapply later? Or has it already been decided and then you'd have to have like a new council or something?
I think they're supposed to wait a year for something that's voted
After a
down.
rejection?
But,
I think tabling seems like it would make sense, right? In that case? Yep, come on up. Please state your full name and address.
Sure. Louis Toulis, 93 Woodside Drive. I'm with Labs Parking, so we've been working with Procaccianti, trying to get everything resolved, figuring things out for Sunday parking. Now, I'm just trying to figure out what's kind of resolving here in terms of the licenses needed, what we're looking like Monday through Saturday now, because it kind of seems, I don't really know the information that's been given.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm just trying to get a little bit of resolution now, what's moving forward Monday through Saturday even. So.
Right.
We don't either. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we might know a little bit about that. There doesn't need to be a license, forgetting about the special use permit, there doesn't need to be a license granted to operate parking there. License during the week, right? Is that correct?
It appears this is just for Sunday. It's
Right.
There's like an old blue law, I think they're called.
Right, so you could do that without getting a license. The only question, I guess, would be, would anyone, who's even leasing that land? But that's not really, that would be I don't know who would enforce that kind of thing.
Right, the lease that we have, the one that Ever provided, back from July, expired, I think, on February 28th.
Yeah, it expired February 28th, so currently there is no executed lease beyond February 28th.
So,
Do you have so you guys have a contract with Procachanti?
correct.
Right?
And how does it, yeah, how is that contract written? Just that you're going to be doing the parking for them?
Correct.
It's like what you do for the.
You're kind of, unfortunately, you're like kind of stuck in the middle between the town and them. I don't think we could give you an answer. No, we don't know.
Okay.
So,
All right. Just something
sorry
so I
about
can
that.
pass along.
Unless you have a lease that Procachanti signed with the state.
That's something, I mean, we can certainly reach out and kind of, is there somebody that should be the recipient of this stuff? If we do happen to get it, where do we send this?
Right. It would go to either the town manager or the town clerk.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I think we just table.
Table, right?
Yeah, I guess we have to.
Until something's resolved in some way.
Until they get the ducks in the row.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion to table?
All right, I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Okay. Any comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion to table, approved 5-0. Okay. Number 26 is a motion to approve the purchase of a web-based agenda setting and boards and commissions application. For a 3-year period in the amount of $11,500 for year one, $12,305 for year two, $13,166.35 for year three, from Granicus LLC, authorizes the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor. Do we have a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Is there a second? Okay, so this
second.
comes from our town clerk. Janet, you want to speak on this one?
Very exciting.
Very.
Yes.
Yes, this will standardize what we're doing for agendas. It allows people to enter it directly into the system, their agenda items, and the agenda,
The minutes.
the agenda setting can happen right in the software. It'll go through various stages. So right now, anything that involves money goes through the purchasing manager, and she'll have access to see things as they come in, rather than getting everything all on one date. So it just streamlines the process. It allows the boards and commissions to do their agendas right in the software. It allows votes to be taken right live, and you can do the votes right as the meeting is happening. Town council can review the package and make their notes for themselves, so that when you're sitting up there, you'll have your computer or your iPad that the town provides, and you can have your notes and everything all together with the agenda items, with all the pages. So it just streamlines the process.
I just want to make, I'm not sure if I read this right, I just want to get it on the record. Year two, $12,305. Okay, any comments?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I don't know if anybody else wants to go. So one of the things that we need to work on is to make sure that our boards, committees, and commissions have some more uniformity to the way that they produce work. So this is a great opportunity to make that happen, it looks like. I mean, it seems to me like all the agendas would begin to look alike, which would be wonderful. The question that I have is there any training that comes with this for the people who would be using this?
Yes, we will have
That would
training.
be good.
Yeah.
That would be
Yes,
really good.
yes, there will be training, probably with a smaller group at first, and then internally we'll be able to work with, the clerk's office will be able to work with the individual boards.
Right, so we could have
To make sure that they're up to speed with what needs to be done.
So we could have like the secretaries of the boards and the
Correct.
chair people to get this training, because that's, I
Correct.
think that would be a really good thing to do. Okay, great.
Okay, anybody else?
Although it is a little expensive.
You think? I think it's great, though.
Oh, I do too.
Yep,
Dennis.
go ahead, Dennis. Just state your full name and address.
Dennis Lynch, Central Street. If part of this, if the board could endorse and support making sure all the commissions and other committees can distribute on the portal all of attachments, much like the board does. So there's many committees where just the agenda is available to the public, and all the review materials behind that isn't accessible in terms of transparency. It'd be great if you could do that.
Thank you. That's built in, right, Janet?
That is an option.
Yep.
That's up to the individual boards as to what it is that they want to display. But we can certainly make policies so that
Full package.
for certain boards that it may be anything that's going to be presented at the meeting can be made visible like 48 hours ahead of time, like they do for the town council. But that would be a decision that would need to be made in the process.
Good.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. When will this roll out?
60 to 90 days, I'm told.
Okay, it's going to be good, though, because you're right, we do, Deb, we're all on different boards, and every agenda looks different.
Looks different,
Even
yeah.
down to the fonts that are used, the letterhead.
Well, I think we
yeah.
also, ultimately, this is a little bit off topic, but we also need to maybe do a workshop that, makes all the rest of the process uniform as well. Because some boards and committees you can vote on if you're a town council member, some you can't.
Right.
And I don't think that's all spelled out, and we need to do that, so.
Yeah, and some of it's
I'll
in
be
the
working
charter,
on
we
that.
just have to.
Yeah.
Dan,
Okay.
where's the memory for all this? Is it on you?
It's in
Cloud-based?
Okay. All right, cool. Anyone else from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 5-0. Number 27 is a motion to reappoint 4 individuals to the Conservation Commission Tree Board. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I have a motion. I'd like to
Sorry, we need a second.
Sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, go ahead.
I'd like to reappoint 4 individuals to the Conservation Commission for 3-year terms. You all have it in front of you. Polly Peterson, Richard Nassa, Brian Grieve, and John DePani. So they all want reappointment.
All right, do we have a second for those nominations?
Second.
Any comments from the public?
Oh, can I make a comment first?
Yep.
The one thing that troubles me a little bit, excuse me, is all the expiration dates are the same. And one of the things we keep talking about is that we would, we would stagger them. And I'm wondering if we need to do that here. We have, I think it's the same way on the land trust, and it's really sort of dangerous to lose your.
Are any of the other members, are they staggered? Are the other members staggered from these?
I don't think we have a lot of members.
So there are 2 that have,
Appointed 2019 and ended term.
So there are others with different end dates?
correct.
So
2 of them
the
are different.
We have 4 of them
Yeah,
that are
but we-
exactly the
yeah.
same. The other 2 are exactly the same in their,
Right.
the next year. So, I mean, if,
Yeah, they are staggered.
The concern with if we changed, so let's say we stagger these, they're on their last term,
yeah, they were all on their last term.
so then they would lose out on some time if we stagger them. Because,
I mean, otherwise, you're going to have to put 4 people on in 2024 at the same time.
When you put them on, you could put them on a different.
the
I
new
know we
people
could.
could be staggered.
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah.
It makes more
Right.
sense.
Guess
I
that'll
think.
go into my workshop.
No, I don't think it makes sense in their last term to stagger, because
Okay.
you have 2 and 2, but I think that's a good point moving forward. Most of the boards and commissions are staggered, so.
Because if you did it on the last term, then their last term would not be a full term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you think that's okay. Do you think that?
I think it's good the way it is.
I'm not
Well,
gonna
it isn't like
argue,
they
it's
don't
fine.
serve after they expire either.
Well, we've been
How many
pretty
times
good
been
about
on there
that,
for
though.
6 months?
We've done a really
Wants
good
to
job
say-
of this.
She
though.
wants to say something.
So it's either the last term is short or the
Right.
next
Yeah.
person's first
Right, I
term
get
is
that.
short. So you
But I thought
decide
we were,
which is.
okay, well, that's another.
All right,
I-
well, we can,
It's a good point that they should be staggered. We've worked towards that.
Right,
but
and this is a partially staggered board.
It's partially staggered, that's right.
There's partially staggered boards are the worst. All right,
Partially staggered.
any comments from the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved, 5-0. Number 28 is a motion to appoint 1 individual to the pension board. Do
I'll move the motion.
we have a second? All right, do we have any nominations?
I do. I'd like to nominate John God, help me out.
Herrera?
Del.
Come on,
how do you
finish
say
it.
Del Areria?
Yeah. I loved his application. I actually called two of the applicants. And he was civic-minded, he has lots of experience, he wants to give back to the town, he's got a finance background, it's pension board. Seemed like a really nice man that was very interested in the work and hopes to be able to give back to his community. So I thought he was a great choice.
Okay, so that's for John Del Arerio. Do we have any other nominations or a second for John?
I'll second him.
Okay, yep, come up. Catherine? I'm not going. Too late.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. This is for the public member, a representative of the public. I don't know anything at all about these three people because there's nothing attached. So I want to see somebody representing the public who knows something about pension policy. I think the two people we have, Mr., what's his name there, Baruda, he doesn't, and Jerry Shahaney is a nice guy, but I've been to pension meetings, and he asked a lot of questions, which told me that he didn't know a whole bunch about pensions. So I really want somebody on this to represent us who knows pensions. And believe it or not, I would prefer to see Mike Riley on this as a public representative, even though him and I go at it in the fifth circle of hell. Facebook.
He didn't apply.
Yeah, we're only going.
I know, so what are you gonna, so this is what I mean, sometimes you gotta reach out to people, you know? And do any of these people have any, any expertise in the pension area? Other than this, maybe they're civic-minded, but do they know anything about finance or pensions?
Yes, this
Which one?
candidate does. I have extensive experience in a wide range of investment categories. He's also familiar, and he's an expert in accounting. So he's
Well,
got
I have
some
a lot of,
Well, there is information on him,
experience
I
in
mean.
investment areas, moving my stuff around in my IRA and stuff, but that doesn't mean anything, I don't know. He was an accountant, or he is an
Yeah,
accountant.
and he went to school, he's got his MBA, he's qualified.
Okay, all right, well, all right.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, anyone else? All right. All right, so we have the nomination for John Del Arerio. I shut down that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 5-0. And then number 29.
I'm going to pull number 29.
Okay, so the town clerk is going to pull number 29. That appointment is actually designated by the Conservation,
By the Conservation Commission, yeah.
by the Conservation Commission on their own. So it doesn't have to be done by the council. Thank you, Janet. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all. Have a good night.